Commissioner Michelle,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner L. Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Chair McLean.
Yes. Case number 22-600-02, special sign permit has passed. Okay, now the very first public hearing case that is up, I need to recuse myself because the applicant is my son. So I'm going to hand the sheet over to Commissioner Preston.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. We have before us then case number 22-10019, rezoning at 400 North Osage, a request by Colin McCain to rezone this property from C2 general commercial to R6 single family resident. Staff, would you read the report?
Yes, this is case 22-119, located on the vicinity map. As you can see, just a block off Truman Road on Osage, just north of White Oak Drive, or Avenue. I think it's Drive, I think that's wrong there. White Oak Drive. So you can see its relation into the square there. Property history, this property has been zoned C2 general commercial since 1965, and has existed as a parking lot for over 4 decades. Proposal, Colin and Kate McLean intend to convert the underutilized parking lot located at 400 North Osage Street into a lot for a single-family residence. The project will eliminate a commercial lot on a block that is mostly residential in use. Of importance, its redevelopment will eliminate blighted property on the northwest corner of White Oak Avenue and Osage Street. As far as the physical characteristics of the property, nearly the entire lot is paved. Redevelopment will eliminate considerable pavement as well as reduce the number of street access points from 3 to 1 or 2. The lot is fairly flat, level, so earthwork will mostly consist of removal of existing impervious surfaces. Abutting 2 commercially zoned properties, 15-foot wide landscape buffers with opaque fences would be required at the time of the plot plan with the building permit. Consisting of a 1 plat lat, excuse me, it would need to be platted into a 1-lot subdivision. Okay. Physical characteristics of the area. On the remainder of the block northwest of the applicant's lot lies properties that contain largely 1 and 2 family houses, although there are some commercial properties immediately adjacent and multifamily residents at the corner of Spring Street and Farmer Street. The character of the properties to the southeast is commercial with an office and a bank building and a parking structure. The homes west of the property are largely constructed in the early 20th century. The UDO's residential design standards will require that the applicants consider an architectural context of the surroundings for their new home. As far as this plan's consistency with the city's strategic plan, the objective of the city's strategic plan is to build new housing units to fill a market need. A comprehensive plan guiding land use principles. The proposed C2 zoning for this property is consistent with the residential urban neighborhood land use designation outlined by the comprehensive plan. The guiding land use principle most pertinent to the proposed zoning land use is facilitate the development of connected mixed-use neighborhoods where appropriate. As far as sub-area plans, this site is located within the Square District sub-area plan and is within the downtown redevelopment area. County records indicate that the property has an abatement 353 exemption. The Square District envisions a mixture of commercial and residential uses, and the development of this property would further that vision. Zoning, the proposed R6 single-family residential zoning classification allows for single-family dwellings and various other uses, schools, churches, governmental facilities, home-based daycare, agriculture, whatnot. Currently, the tract is zoned C2 general commercial, which allows for retail, office, restaurants, banks, business, personal improvement services, hotels, construction services, daycare centers, nursing homes, government facilities, churches, funeral homes, schools, colleges, universities, vet clinics, entertainment facilities, medical services, and repair services. Historic and archaeological sites in the area. There are no apparent historic or archaeological issues with this property. It's not in a floodplain or stream buffer area, and all the needed utilities are located nearby and adjacent. Of course, as I mentioned before, given the change of zoning and adjacency to commercial use, or the commercial use to the north and the one to the southwest, a 15-foot buffer has to be provided for, and that would be noted in the plot plan. Public improvements, curb and guttering reconstruction would be needed along Osage Street. And of course, segments of sidewalks along both Osage and White Oak may need to be repaired. And then there will be removal of one or more of the drives along White Oak, which would require, of course, the preference would be that both would be removed and the access would be off Osage. CP investments, or CIP investments, the city does not have any capital improvements programmed right there for the site area at this time. So looking here at the zonings, so you can see where the small commercial is to the northeast there, and the one building I was talking about to the west, but how this property does abut existing residential, and how the block to the west there is a street of predominantly single-family homes. And of course, it would be consistent with the comprehensive plan. When the comprehensive plan envisions residential urban neighborhoods. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's the second color down, the sort of the tan color. And here's an aerial photograph of the area. So this is actually on the north part of the sort of the loop around the square. You can see that the drive that goes over to Spring Street off of White Oak there. Okay, this is looking from Osage, looking west onto the property there. No, I'm wrong. This is from White Oak looking north. Yes, okay. This is from Osage looking west. So. And then this is looking to the southwest, and you can see the parking structure off the old Commerce Bank building there to the left. And there's, of course, more of that old Commerce Bank building and related parking structure. And then this is back toward the chamber building and other commercial use. And then this is north up Osage. And then this is looking back to the south, Old Commerce Bank on the right, Chamber of Commerce on the left, back toward the square. Staff recommends approval of this zoning request, and I'm ready to take any questions you may have.
Commissioners, do you have any questions or point of clarification of staff?
Point of clarification here, I just want to make sure, what's the abatement 353? Is that a tax thing, or, I mean, what's it for improvements or something, or?
Yeah, I think it what keeps taxes at the level before the improvement.
Well, if you're part of the program, if you make certain improvements to your property, you get abated for a certain time period for the value of the taxes.
And that's basically, that's the older part of town around there that they put in.
That's
correct?
right. There's actually at least three 353 programs in the northwest part of the city.
Okay, I just want to clarify that, because people were wondering what that was. What is the commercial to the north? Is it a business there, is it just an empty building, or does anybody know?
I'm not sure what the use is. It looked like an underutilized empty structure. There wasn't any signage on it.
Okay, I was just curious.
Someone may know.
Okay.
Anyone else with a comment, question of staff before? Would the applicant give his name and address for the record, and then add any additional clarifications that would be beneficial to the commissioners?
Sure. Colin McLean. I currently live at 310 North Main Street here in Independence. I don't know if I have anything to add to Mr. Harker's recitation of my application here. I think he did a great job. I stood up here for moral support, obviously. But if you have any questions for me about that property or anything about it, I'm happy to answer any questions for you. I did look into that building to the north of there. I even wrote a letter to the owners of that, and I never got a response back. I'm not really sure what they do there.
That lot has been a parking lot for the previous 40 years. Do you know what they were doing on that lot before?
Right now they host some road salt that's used to spread around here on the square during the winter months, and I'm sure they'll find a new location for that. That's not going to be a problem. Other than it being a vacant lot, I can't find out anything else that's.
I
being
was
used for.
really just poking you.
Some Santa Calagon parking, I guess.
Okay, so you mentioned the salt lot, that's what I was wanting to know. If we rezone this tonight, what is going to happen about them using that salt lot? I mean, it's not going to be commercial, so then it's going to go back to residential, so that's why I didn't know what's going to happen with it over the winter times. I know that's what they use it for. I see them out there with their trucks and Bobcat and all that stuff, loading up salt all hours of the day and night and when it's snowing, so I was just curious what would happen to that after it gets approved, if it does get approved.
If it does get approved, they have a new location, I think, picked out to move that operation so that they can still have access to the road salt and spread it out around the square, but it won't remain on the site.
Okay, and you said you don't know about the people, I mean, it looks like to me it'd be more, you'd probably like that piece of property to the north there, because it squared up a little bit more for you, but you can't find anything out about it.
I can't find anything about it. I want to talk to the owners about that possibly in the future. I didn't get a response back. I've seen people there occasionally since I live right down the street from it right now. But still, I don't have really a clue what they do there.
Okay.
Any additional comments, questions, points of clarification?
I'll just make one point. I also happen to be on the chamber board. We discussed it this week. We're excited to see something beautiful show up there on a pretty useless lot, except for, you're right, Santa Calagon parking. So
Right.
I'm sure we can figure that one out.
Well, thank you.
So if it passes, welcome to the neighborhood.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this application? Please. Come to the podium. Please provide your name and address for the record.
Anthony Robinson. I live at 413 North Spring Street. So the lot backs right up to my backyard. So we're excited about the possibility of having that parking lot gone. We just moved to the area. So it's going to add value to our home. And I don't know if I can ask, if I'll just throw the question out there, and it's a one single family home that it's going to be?
One family, single family home.
Okay. So I'm in support of it.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would please come to the podium?
Hello,
Please provide your name and address for the record.
Mark McDonald. I live at 420 West Farmer. I'm very excited about this opportunity to get a single family dwelling in our neighborhood. I know it'll be beautiful, and for me, I'll be excited to get rid of that pile of sand and salt that's there every year. And when the salt truck comes in and tips over, it blights the neighborhood. And I'm all about trying to make this neighborhood nicer, and this is going to be a huge step. And I want to thank the young man that's willing to take up roots and stay in the neighborhood, and that's what we need, is more young folks in our city. But with that, thank you.
Thank you. One more, I think. Lady Greggs, you know the protocol, your name and record.
Marcy Gregg. I reside at 422 West Farmer Street in Independence. I came to speak to another issue, but I do want to express my support for this application also. I live next door to Mr. McDonald, just down the street, and we have been very much about ensuring the security and just the prosperity of our neighborhood, the sustainability of it, and I've lived there for almost 30 years now, or actually a little more than that. Looked at an empty lot all of that time, so it's very exciting to see that happen. I'm very much in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to offer a comment in favor of this project? Thank you. Please offer us your name and address for the record.
My name is Eric Smith. I dwell at 417 West Farmer Street. The McDonald's and Marcy's, my neighbors. I am in support of the salt being going somewhere else because it is a nuisance. It really is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Is there anyone else who would like to offer comment in favor? Thank you. Is there anyone who would offer opposition to this application? Please come forward. Please provide us your name and address for the record.
Good evening. I'm Jim Doherty, and my wife's with me here, Anna, back here. We own the property at 408 North Osage, which is just the building to the north that you was questioning. And it's not so much opposition to having something improve development there, but it is concerns for the change from commercial to residential there with property value as well. Even though it might improve that corner in residential, it could affect my property value, not being commercial, to be able to develop something commercially there. I did receive a letter from Colin going back last year when Mom passed. She was the owner, And I just have recently purchased it through the trust to settle the trust and get the family taken care of and stuff. So I'm a new owner of that
Excuse
property.
me, Vice Chairman, I'm not sure that we got the property owner's address.
408
Okay.
North Osage.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think I stated that hopefully it's just the one to the north. 408
Raise your
North
mic up a
Osage.
little bit.
Yeah, it'd be easier than kneeling down, wouldn't it? I don't want to break it though. Does it bend?
He's tall.
It doesn't look like it bends.
Set it up on.
Is that where, oh, it's not
There you
corded.
go.
Very good, thank you. That'll help. Is that better?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I've been involved in the property, of course, it's been the family since Grandpa had it years and years ago when it was a laundromat. That's not what it was originally built for. But it has been rented, leased, in my recollection, as long as I've been involved with it for the last 10, 15 years, without being empty except for improvements that were made inside and outside, which was only empty at that time for like 2 months when we did the improvements. So it has always had someone in it. There is no signage because of the type of business that's in it. Usually it's an individual that is doing things for themselves, and it's not a retail that's advertised for people, because there's no parking really around that facility to open it up for anything. And in fact, we were trying to get a hold of the owner that, I think he lived in California prior to Mom's passing, to look into that corner as well. And they used to maintain it quite well, and was trying to track him down, see if they was interested in selling. But obviously, McLean's were able to get a hold of that before Mom's passing, and we didn't want to do anything with that. But long story short there is, it has, that building, been occupied, been rented as a source of income, has been for years. So the big concern is, for me, the property values, well, it might improve with a residential home there for residential values. I'm concerned what it potentially would take away for the possibility for commercial use, and what that means to our property next door to it. The other thing that concerns me, while I know it is a single-family application for it, I also know when I was growing up, there was a big property out east on Truman Road called Massman Farms that was donated to the city. The city put a proposal together to have that approved to build a park. It was all out in the residential area. Had advertising of ball diamonds, tennis courts, everything else. It was put up for the citizens to vote on. Everyone voted unanimously to put a park in. And the city did put a park in, and it became the industrial park down there off of Truman Road and Swope. And their explanation was it was a park. So it concerns me, well, it starts out as a residential single-family home, what that then opens the door up to become for multi-family dwelling, another complex built up. You know, they had the new one, I think that's where Colin lives now, is the new one that's down there. Not that that's not an improvement on housing, but certainly for me next door might not be an improvement for us and the value income we get off of that building that eventually we may be pushed out, bottom line. So just my concerns, I'd like to see improvements, and I'd be tickled for them to be able to build a nice single-family home, and if that's the case, be good, but it certainly can't affect me, and I'm concerned with what that effect might be, so.
I'm going to ask staff, there's a section that spoke to the modifications of that lot because it is adjacent to a commercial. Would you review that portion?
Well, we're,
Let's see here.
all right, better just do it from
I
the
think it's
screen.
privacy fencing, yeah.
Like, well, in this paragraph, I talked about it in two different places, but then here in the analysis, I said, given that the property abuts to commercially zoned properties, the 15-foot landscape buffers with an opaque fence would be required by code. Because when we have development between two different uses, one more intense than the other, that's required. And of course, this being a single-family home, you know, that stuff would be reviewed as part of a plot plan through the building permit process.
Thank you. If you would, I'm going to ask the applicant to step back up.
Sure.
Tell us about the structure that you intend to build. And you may not have completed your structure that you intend to build. And you may not have completed your full architectural designs, but
I do. We have architectural plans for the house already. It's a single-family house. There's no plans to do anything but that. So that's the intention. That's the plan. I have the plans on my phone right now. If you'd like to take a look at the picture of it, it looks great. It looks fantastic. But no, we don't have any other plans other than that.
and you intend to fully comply with the changes because you're abutting a commercial property. You have no problems with that.
None.
Thank
We'll
you.
comply with whatever requirements from the city.
Thank you. I hope that addresses your concerns. Does anyone else have any comments or opposition?
It's finished.
Are you are you finished?
You're finished.
Okay.
Going to add, and Colin, mentioned he'd written a letter, which I really didn't think much of at the time, because we did receive a Blue Line handwritten letter asking if we might be interested in some property, but you get those in the mail all the time. And Mom was getting tons for her house and everything else. And it was to build a residential home on a commercial property. I didn't take that real seriously. So my apologies if I didn't get back, was expected, to get back. It didn't seem like anything different than 10 or 15 others I get every month or so. Are you interested in selling your property? So since it wasn't zone residential at the time, and I had just been dealing with the death of my mom and getting the trust taken care of, we just bought it. So I apologize for not getting back with you. I did not understand or know that it was really serious. It was the Blue Line.
Well, we
But-
appreciate your comments. Thank you very much.
Okay, and just, again, to wrap this up is, I don't question his intent, but it opens a door. He might be 5 years there and gone. The next one may want to go the next step. So I guess the concerns that I have as a business owner there.
Point taken.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
The point on that there, though, is that we're going residential 6, so it's going to be a single family. To have it rezoned, they'll have to have it rezoned to have more families put on that piece of property, so.
Understand,
So
but
that's-
it's that next step. That was being my only concern.
Well,
Not that it would happen.
But if that happens again, then there'll be a letter to your property and all the properties around if they want to do that. So that's why we cover ourselves that it won't happen at this point right now.
Well, I understand that right now,
Okay.
but just the concern for down the
Okay, I
road.
understand.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Does the applicant have any additional comments to offer?
No.
Does staff have any additional comments before I close the public hearing portion?
No, I do not.
Does commissioners, you have any questions?
On staff, on the buffer zone, is that just strictly on the north side, or do they have to do that on the, I want to say south side, because you got commercial across the street? I didn't know.
I mean, according to the code, it would have to be along that one lot that's on the
Just the one lot, even though
southwest.
that, not, so, yeah, okay. Right here. Okay, I know where it's at, I just want to make sure that, because there's commercial across the street, they wouldn't have to do it on that. Okay, just want to make sure that.
Commissioners, any further questions?
Not a question, but a clarification.
Point.
Just because I do care about your concerns, Mr. Doherty. We're looking at a single-family house. It will make the neighborhood better. It will raise probably those housing adjustments. There is a commercial building in between those residences. I hear his point taken. His role, his zoning will not change in any way, affecting his ability to do whatever business he is in line to do. So the applicant is Mr. McLean, and we're here to approve what it is he's asking tonight, but taking into clarification what the commercial owner cares about, and I think we've done that. So I just wanted to clarify, staff, anything that would abut to Mr. Doherty, or there's no negative to him if we approve this residential change.
I mean, the only thing I'll say is he's already abutting residential.
Okay,
So, so on one side already, so.
All right. Just wanted to clarify.
Thank you. Any additional comments, Commissioner? And we close the portion of the hearing, and we'll have some discussion here. I know you can't participate. But
I think it's gonna be a good thing there, because like I say, it's been that way for who knows how long, and like I say, I can see where people complain about the salt. I mean, I drove by there. I mean, I see that. and-
Excuse me, Mr. Nesbitt, can you,
Oh, can you not hear? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I drive by there and I see the salt, especially they spill a lot of it out there on that main road. So I see where you guys complain about that, and I'm sure the trucks out there running in the middle of the night, making noise at your back door. So I can understand that. So I do. I think this will be a good thing.
Bert? Tony? Thoughts? Then the chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve
All right, as presented.
as presented. Thank you.
Do we get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff?
Who is the second? Michelle, okay.
Did you need him to give his name? Call the roll.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Michelle,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston.
Yes.
Let's see. Yep, we still have Young on here. Commissioner L. Wiley.
Yes.
And then other Wiley's not here. Okay. I think I got everybody. Okay.
Yeah, this has been approved, and we'll take further actions as appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I yield back to you.
Thank you. Well done. Thank you. Our next case is case 22-100-20, rezoning of 701 North Forest Avenue. Staff, will you give us a report, please?
before I go into that, received word this afternoon from the applicant surveyor that he has COVID, is not going to be able to make the meeting. And then he was not sure if the applicant was going to make the meeting either. So before we go into that, is there anybody here to represent Walter Bethany for the rezoning of 701 North Forest? Rezoning for 701 North Forest? Okay, I guess we can continue this case to the December meeting.
Okay.
I mean, we can discuss it and vote on it if you like, but the applicant is not here.
I think it's appropriate, Madam Chair.
You want to continue it?
Let's continue.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we continue case
Second.
2200, or 22-100-20.
And Mr. Preston?
We have Commissioner Preston was the second.
Okay.
We're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Ferguson?
Yes.
Commissioner Michelle?
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt?
Yes.
Commissioner L. Wiley?
Yes.
Commissioner Preston?
Yes.
Chair McLean?
Yes. Case number 22-100-20, rezoning for 701 North Forest Avenue, will be continued to, do we have a date?
I think it is the December 13th.
All right, to December 13th.
That's the only meeting of the Planning Commission in December.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're near the end of the year. I don't even want
I feel like I just got here.
You did.
Okay, all right, next case, case number 22-400-12, short-term rental at 424 North Spring Street. As a request by SBD Housing Solutions for a short-term rental. Staff, we're ready for report.
Okay, this is an application for a short-term rental by Mark Latour of SBD Housing Solutions. He seeks to have a short-term rental on this property at the 424 North Spring Street. The vicinity map shows the location. It's basically in the southwest corner of Spring and Farmer. It's just north of Truman Road, which is the darker piece there. Yeah, this property contains about a 2,350 square foot multi-story house. It has 4 bedrooms for an occupancy of 8 people. It's a white 2-story house that was constructed in 1902, according to Jackson County Historic Information. It shares a driveway to the rear of the property with the adjoining lot to the south. SBD is partnering with Evolve Vacation Rentals for marketing and support services, including a 24-hour assistance and monitoring of the property. Evolve will list the site on Airbnb, RVBO, Booking.com, and other similar platforms. There are no other immediate short-term rentals in the area, and therefore they follow the density requirements of the city code. This is an older historic primarily residential area of the city, with parts being in the National Historic Register area, including this site, but is not within the local historic register, and it features many larger, older homes. Some of these homes have been converted to multifamily homes, offices, while others have retained their original single-family use. Here we'll talk about, this is the location of other short-term rentals in the area. That the short-term rentals in the area are designated by the little blue circle, the Essen. You can see there's not really close to this site, especially not within the same block. This is an aerial photograph of the site. The farmer is on the south side of the rectangle there, which is the property, and Spring is in front, which is on the left. This is the front of the house. We're on Spring looking to the west. That gravel driveway there that leads up between the two properties leads to a parking area for this property, the property to the south, and then the property to the west. And we'll take another look at that shortly. This is the north side of the house. We're standing on Farmer looking at the north side. This is the actual parking area for this property. You can see the gravel driveway along the bottom there. This, I think, was a patio in the past, but there are enough room there for 2 cars. The other parts of the drive serve the house to the south and to the one to the west. This is the house that is immediately to the west. It does access the driveway that goes behind the subject site. Here we're in Farmer looking to the east. Those white figures there actually is a reflection of street signs. The stop sign there on the corner, and then that smaller sign to the right is a no parking from there to the corner. That's what that sign is. This is the house to the north. It's across Farmer. Here on the northeast corner of Farmer and Spring is a commercial business building. I'm not sure what business is there, but it's been that way for a long time. And then there are 2 similar houses on the east side of the street, somewhat similar of the same era of this subject property. Here's the first one, and then there's the second one. And then to the south of the, well, actually we're going to look down Spring to the south. This section of, on the right side here of Spring is a no parking area. And where that truck is, that white truck, is also from there north is a no parking. So around that general intersection, there's no parking designated, probably 150 feet back from the intersection. Well, maybe not that far, maybe 100 feet back from the intersection. And then there's the house that is immediately to the south of it. Again, you can see the driveway which leads to the parking area in the back. Okay, Evolve, the company, will provide 24-hour monitoring of the property and contact the local owners, which is SBD, to respond to any emergency. Rental agreements set out the house rules, including no parties, gatherings, be kind to the neighbors, observe quiet times of 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., not to block the common driveway, which is important because it serves several properties. And any violation of the rules could result in eviction and possible fine. They do use AAA disposal service, and the property has been inspected by the fire department and passed the initial short-term rental safety inspection. Staff does recommend approval of this short-term rental with the following conditions. One is the short-term rental shall obtain a business license in accordance with city code and comply with Article 3, Chapter 5 of the city code. The occupational license number shall be listed on all advertisements and online platforms. 2 is the business must comply with all safety and other standards established by the short-term rental section of the Unified Development Ordinance. And 3 is the maximum occupancy of the premises shall be limited to 8.
Sorry, I was looking at the pictures. Okay. Well, is there any questions of staff before we go forward?
On the letter from the City of Independence to the residents, it states that the maximum occupancy is 6, and you've
Yeah,
said the word
that was,
8.
yeah, the applicant's letter originally said, and I base it on what the applicant's letter said, and he revised it. It said, I think there were 3 bedrooms in the original letter from the applicant, and so that's what I put on the thing that was sent out. But then later he clarified there was actually 4 bedrooms, so I had him change the letter.
And how much parking is available? Could it
Well,
hold
there
4
are
cars?
two spaces behind the building and then 2 spaces out on Farmer.
So for short-term renters, there would be parking, but for full-time renters or residents in the areas around them, there would be no parking.
Well, the property to the south has, I should have taken pictures of that entire area. Maybe I can go back to an aerial of that. Yep. Okay, you can see behind the house, the shadow of the house takes up part of the patio area, which was now being parking. As you can see from the house to the south, there's the large gray area behind it. That is all gravel. And there's actually a little sort of designated parking area you can see behind there. There's a couple cars parked there now. And then, so there's enough cars there for the house there on the south, and then another for the house on the west.
So
And
you're saying that's common property?
Well, there's no common area. That is just
I mean-
the driveway is, we believe, is split between the applicant's property and the property to the south. And then the parking area behind is, I believe, used by at least the property to the south and to the west. There is no common ground as such. There may be a parking agreement between the owners. I'm not aware of that.
Stuart, is the photograph oriented with north up?
Actually, north is at the south. I'm sorry. Yeah,
180 degrees?
yeah.
Okay.
That's right, the north is on the
I was
south.
having a hard time getting my bearings.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
All right, will the applicant come forward, please, and state your full name and your address?
Good evening, everybody. My name is actually Mark Delator. Typo in the application, apparently. My address is 4238 Edmondson Court in Lee Summit, Missouri.
Thank you. Just tell us anything you can about the property and intent and.
Yeah, thank you for the time and the consideration. First of all, I want to say it's a credit to the community because after this application was posed, I have received quite a few of the property owners reaching out and have had some constructive communication with a lot of the neighbors, specifically Kathy, who owns the two properties both on the south and the west that Mr. Borders was referencing there. So I'm familiar with the difficulties of the parking situation. I know that the neighbors here are wanting a good neighbor, right? And SBD Housing represents a good neighbor. And so I just wanted to take a few minutes for everybody to understand who I am and what we do for the community. SBD Housing itself is all about elevating communities. We have bought and sold over 2,000 homes in the 20 years that I have been operating in Independence. We currently have over 730 homes under property management, so we are a professional property management company. We have 30 employees locally that are running my property management company. We're currently constructing at Sterling Village the 52 brand new construction fourplexes with the new construction that you guys approved very recently, and that's going extremely well. So thanks again for your consideration there. They're coming along nicely. And we also operate other short-term rentals around the country. We are a good neighbor. This property was in blight. It's been sitting vacant for many, many years. We bought this property and have poured about $76,000 into the renovation of a 1902 home. That's a lot more than I'd prefer, but sometimes you get into these projects and you have to do things the right way, and that's certainly the SBD way. We have remodeled it to the highest of standards. When we do rental properties, we like it to be, we call it bulletproof. So we do put in new cabinets, new countertops, granite. We do LVP flooring to make it easy for cleaning. This has been remodeled to a very, very high standard with bathrooms and everything. We believe that the short-term rental opportunity here brings economic development to the city. With a long-term tenant, the person would move in, cook at home, clean, go to work. But with a short-term tendency, what sometimes is overlooked is that they are coming to go bowling in the alley, to go to Ophelia's to eat dinner, to go to a Chiefs game or Royals game and pour money back into the community. So we're excited about that possibility. We understand, pertinent to the guidelines that this committee has previously laid out under STR 14422, the amendment, that it is very important to pursue good neighbor guidelines. So with regard to maximum occupancy, parking options, the exit evacuation procedures, the noise plan, we have measures in place to address these concerns so that we can continue to be a good neighbor. We will have a decibel meter inside the house on Wi-Fi so that we will be alerted if there's any noise. We have strict guidelines up front, just trying to set expectations that this will not be a party house. We don't want to be the house that everyone's coming to with, for a weekend getaway for a bachelor party. That's not who we are. But we do want people to come and experience the independence that we all know and love. We are also cleaning this property weekly and covering lawn care. One of the things that also is a benefit to short-term rentals is that similar to a car going through a car wash on a weekly basis and getting a fresh detail, as opposed to waiting 3 years to get a cleaning like some long-term rentals, this property will be cleaned after every single use. It will be alerted to if there's any chips in the windows or scraping paint or anything. We will be monitoring this on a weekly basis rather than an annual basis like some landlords. We do have local maintenance, although we are utilizing the services of Evolve Management, which Stuart referenced. That is a third-party management company that is very good at marketing and syndicating our properties around the country to get the maximum exposure. They will immediately call us as the local maintenance and local management company of record. So my staff, we have 8 handymen on crew. We have a full team of 24/7 people that will be monitoring, and it will be my employees that will be addressing any concerns that we have at the property. The same people that rehab the property will be out there addressing any of the concerns that may come up from a tenant or a neighbor, for that matter. In summary, I understand that some of the neighbors may speak tonight about being jaded. There are some rentals that are being mismanaged in that area, and I just want to provide and give them some peace of mind that we are professionals. We manage hundreds and hundreds of rental property, including short-term rentals. We understand that a mismanaged property can be a blight to the area, and that is not our intent. We intend to manage this professionally and to the highest of standards to not only maintain profitability for us as a company, but also to be a good neighbor. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions?
I have a couple. Thank you for the presentation. You mentioned, it mentions 24-hour monitoring. Is there something other than the audio monitoring, noise level monitoring that Evolve is doing for you?
The 24/7 monitoring is more a full-time phone call that is monitored. So they are any objections that come from a tenant specifically, they will have a number to call in case of emergency. I don't believe it's the intent to give every single neighbor that phone number. However, if they call Evolve and call that in, they could certainly do so.
Okay. And can you speak a little bit, I think you've answered this question fairly well. You're the local property manager, you're the owner as well, correct? You're engaging with Evolve. Are they doing anything? They're listed here as the property manager on the application, though. I see they're headquartered out of Denver, though. Do they have any local presence at all?
Yeah, they manage properties all over the country, including many in the Kansas City marketplace. Yes.
Okay. But they're not doing anything boots on the ground local. That's you.
Yes, they effectively give us a phone call, and we go and address those through our company. That's correct.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Well, my question is going to be back to the parking. So what did you figure out on the parking on the backside with the other building?
Yeah, so Kathy actually owns both properties. The property in the duplex, as I understand it, doesn't have any parking associated with it. So she bought that with the south property so that there would be access. She grants her two tenants access to that grade area where the two cars are parked on the north lot. The one thing about parking that I think goes misunderstood also is that, and I use Airbnbs a lot, and I get to my property no longer with rental cars, but with Uber. And I asked Evolve this question prior to coming, but 67% of their people that are renting Uber to the location. I know parking may sound scary if you're going to have 8 people, but remember that 8 is a maximum occupancy. And this is not intended to be, I don't anticipate it being 8 occupants every single time. This could be, a couple, a single, or a group of couples coming to enjoy a weekend together. But Ubering to the location or getting a transportation to the location is far more common than you can imagine. There is off-street parking. Stuart generously said 2 spaces. I think you could squeeze 2 cars in there. I think we all know if it was an F-150, you'd probably get 1 car there. But there are technically 2 spaces there. And then obviously off-street parking. If someone's there for short term, if this was long term, there may be more of a battle for that off-street parking. But for a short-term mindset, when our property will likely be occupied about 55 to 60% of the days of a year, in best case scenario, we anticipate the majority of people coming and arriving by a taxi or an Uber service, and then they would have the option of parking 1 car behind, and then obviously any parking up the street or on Farmer or on North Spring.
Well, my concern is when we go back to short term, you're thinking it's going to be a week, but short term can be as long as 90 days, according to our record writers, are 30 days. 30 days. Okay, 30 days. What if you have a construction crew come in there for 30 days and they bring their truck, and then you got 8 guys with 8 different trucks? There's no parking. That's what I'm saying.
Then they would be.
That's a legit concern, because that has happened, and we've seen that happen. So that's where I have problems with not enough parking. That's why I think we have it in our rules that we got to have enough parking for 4 spaces. Is that correct? The new rules we set out?
It's basically we calculated 2 spaces here and then 2 on Farmer.
2 on Farmer. I thought we weren't calculating the street parking.
No, you can include that as part of your parking.
Okay. That's my only concern, is the parking.
Heard.
Thank you. Any other questions of the applicant before we open this up?
I have one question. That's how many owners live around this short-term rental? How many? I was asking you, as the person who wants to move into their area, you own the property, you want to have short-term renters, how many full-time owners of those homes are trying to share the street, the neighborhood, the parking lot?
I don't know the answer to that question. I would be guessing.
Okay. And two, you had said you want to do what's right for the independents that we all love. You live in Lee Summit. Can you tell me what, it's the very esoterical question, but what you love most about Independence?
What do I love most about Independence? I would say that it's forward thinking, and it has the that you're blessed in Independence with the ability to expand and grow. I look at a city like Raytown that is completely landlocked and has no ability for new construction or growth. I was here speaking vocally in support of the development on Little Blue Parkway because there's forward thinking. You're trying to bring jobs and growth to the city. You know, the vision that you have and the ability to take what is a controversial development, apparently, with the warehouse structure that is getting developed up on Little Blue and the chance to bring jobs was forthright. And so I think the leadership here is strong, and I think you have good plans. So in general, it's a city that's pro-business, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Sure, we'll have you back up. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for this case? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against this case? Sir, will you come up? State your full name and your address again, please.
My name is Eric Smith. I live at 417 West Farmer Street. And if you'll notice between these two houses, that is my home behind the one that they want to make out of an Airbnb. What is that, Airbnb? The problem I have with that is, you know, we want people, I love Independence. We want people that's gonna grow here and do something conducive to Independence to help it grow. Right now, since you mentioned Cassidy, that opened it up for me to say this. Cassidy's two houses has been grandfathered in, and it has been a nuisance of who she bring into the house. And I know everybody has to have someone to where to live, but what I'm afraid of is that people come and go, you know, and I say again, you know, we're looking for someone who's gonna stay, plant seeds there, and help Independence grow. You know, not a lot of riffraff. And that's what we're trying to get away from. Because Kathy has not, and it's not about Kathy, but she has not been in compliance with the community that we live in. So when she brings them in, we don't know them. I mean, they're just, I don't know, they're just not fit for our community. I'll say that, and forgive me if I'm being too outspoken. But I would like to keep our community safe, you know, our family safe, and someone there that's gonna help Independence grow. That's all.
Thank you. We value your voice. We value hearing all the different opinions, so don't apologize.
Question to staff. The houses that he referenced, those are rental properties and are not short-term. Am I correct?
They're not shown up on map as short-term rentals. As far as long-term or ownership, I don't know.
But they're not showing up as registered short-term.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
I can go to that map if you'd like to see it. It's right there. That
Yeah.
shows where the little blue circles are. If they are being used for short-term rentals, they're not legal short-term rentals.
And what are the consequences of operating a non-licensed short-term rental?
Well, they would need to come in and go through this process, and I guess if they didn't, eventually they would end up in the municipal court as code violations.
And short-term rentals that are a nuisance, their license is for what, 1 year?
Yeah, all businesses actually have 1-year license. That's right.
Therefore, a nuisance short-term rental can be terminated.
Yeah, there's provisions in the city code that relate to cancellation or termination of any sort of home business.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak against this case? Sir, come on back up. Please state your full name and address, please.
Mark McDonald, I live at 420 West Farmer. I had the opportunity to speak with the applicant today. I think he has a wonderful plan. I think he's put a lot of things, a lot of thought in place. I think, from my own perception, is his company wasn't able to flip it. And that's why he's going to try and make some revenue out of it. And I can't disagree with that at all. But it does not fit in our neighborhood with the parking. One of these pictures you have up there's a teal, I'm colorblind, a teal pickup truck on Farmer, right there. That truck belongs to someone that lives at whatever's next door to that house on Spring. That truck is there 12 months of the year. He has a Jeep and he has that pickup truck. So parking is an issue right now. And whether people are going to Uber in there or not, they can't park on Spring, because that used to be, until we made an issue of it, was one of the most dangerous intersections in the city, is Spring and Farmer. I think the white truck, hopefully it's not a city truck, is parked in a no parking zone. The 20-foot limit is violated on a regular basis. And I personally have seen 2 or 3 accidents at that intersection. So the idea, and I appreciate your comments on, your comments on the parking. Parking is an issue. The last thing I'd like to say is, I think the applicant has all the best intents in what he's trying to do. I don't know that I would want, for me to go on vacation with my family, to end up in a short-term rental in between those 2 regular rental properties. With all the issues we've had all these years, it's going to it will hurt the reputation of Independence, Missouri, on what I think what you folks are trying to do. The wonderful applicant here building a new house in our neighborhood's wonderful. I think I'm going to get to meet another one of my neighbors that's in a single-family dwelling. That's the future for Independence. And I have trouble separating the short-term rental versus a rental property. I think it's the same type of people that move in that don't have a connection for permanency and don't have anything in the game to make sure that their property is well taken care of. I mean, you can see the property, the front of the property that's been renovated. I know it's been renovated twice in probably the last 2 years. It's not very attractive. The landscaping, it's not kept up well. The sidewalk is all broken up. That's what my biggest concern is, not necessarily with this applicant. It's with that house in particular, being adjacent to those 2 rentals that we've had troubles with them over the years. And maybe we can look at the records to see. I know 415 has been put in as a nuisance house now, after many, many issues there. So with that, I just gave you my 2 bits, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I have a comment to
Yes.
make for the gentleman who just spoke. That pickup truck there, you can come back up for a second. Sorry. Mr. McDonald, I'm sorry. That vehicle, you said it has not moved?
Excuse me?
That vehicle does not move? The pickup truck?
Yes.
The turquoise pickup truck, does it move? Does it stay there all the time?
Oh, it moves. Occasionally, he'll switch out with his Jeep, and he works on it right there on the street.
Okay.
Which really is fun to watch.
I would just say, if it didn't move, it would be considered an abandoned vehicle that you could complain about.
I understand totally.
Okay,
Trust me, I would have called it in.
I'm sure. So you also probably are aware the broken sidewalk is a code violation.
It has been turned in as a code violation, and it was closed
Okay, that's all I wanted to do.
without any action.
Those are the comments I wanted to make. Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You never know. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for this case, or against this case?
I'm not necessarily speaking against this case, but my name's...
Have you been sworn in?
No, excuse me. I'm Kathy Brownfield,
Okay,
and
I
I
need you to
live...
raise your right hand.
I need to swear?
You have to swear in, yes. I need you to raise your right hand and swear to tell the whole truth before this commission. If you agree, say yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I
State your
own the
name and your address.
Kathy Brownfield, 6110 Northeast Upperwood Road, Lee Summit, Missouri.
Thank you.
I own both of the rental properties, 415 and 420. That 415 has never been turned in as a nuisance house. That truck belongs to one of my tenants. That is public parking. He has every right in the world to park on that street. That sidewalk in front of 424, about 5 years ago, the city came to me and said I had a code violation in front of my 420. I removed every bit of the sidewalk and put in a new sidewalk from one end to the other. 424 got the notice at the same time, and that sidewalk has never been repaired. I do everything I can to have good tenants. They're lower income, and you cannot screen for bipolar, crazy. I take very good care of my property, and I dare anyone in here to say that I don't. It's outrageous. I think he has... No one in here likes rentals. The people that you just talked to, they do not like rentals. They should have bought these properties when they came for sale. I did. And he has his that he wants to do something with. I get it. They want single-family homes, but that's not what it is. This is how I make a living. I talk to well, you're not hearing all of the story, I guarantee you. And I wish him the best if he turns this into an Airbnb, because it's not going to be easy for him. It's not. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Come on up. And state your full name and address, please, again.
Marcy Gregg, 422 West Farmer Street, Independence, Missouri. And I should explain it first. I don't normally come to Planning Commission meetings dressed in a scout uniform, but we have a meeting this evening, and when I'm done here, maybe I'll get over that at a meeting. I've lived in my house since 1992. I think of all the neighbors that are here tonight, I think I have the seniority in the room. I can tell you a lot about that house on the corner. I want to clarify a couple of things that have been stated. That this is a single-family home. It was built as a single-family home. It was occupied for years as one. In 92, when we moved in, that house was vacant. It sat vacant for a very long time, at least 10, maybe 15 years. I lost track. But it was purchased, rehabilitated, and sold to a young woman who had a young daughter with her, and they occupied it for, I'm going to say, maybe 7 years or so. It sold, I think, in 2020. It was right about the time of the pandemic, and the housing market started to go crazy. One day she sold the house. She called one of those numbers or postcards that she got and needed to move, and there it went. Somebody came in and rehabbed that house, put it on the market. Then things cooled off. They didn't get it on the market, I think, until maybe fall, sort of off season. Nothing happened. It didn't sell. And now we have this application in place. So it really only sat vacant for about a year that I'm aware of. It's not been many years. Again, it's a single-family home. I don't care how great a job this company or any company would do as a short-term rental operator, that's the wrong use for this property. I want to remind the commission and the city of a program called the Midtown Truman Road Corridor. I also want to remind you that this house sits in the Truman National Landmark District. Midtown Truman Road Corridor plan came about in 1995, and it was a plan to create tax abatements for homeowners in the area with several stated goals. It had 7 goals, but the one of most importance tonight is number 5, which was, and I'm quoting from the plan, to reverse the trend of rental occupancy through construction of new owner-occupied housing units and the conversion of existing rental units back to owner-occupied single-family units. This corridor area spanned, I don't know how many blocks, many, many, many blocks, and over the years, the city and its residents in that corridor area have invested literally millions of dollars in preserving the historic neighborhood that this corridor is in. At the time that we enacted the plan, we had a very transient rate of students in the local elementary school, Bryant. We had an exorbitant amount of rental units, homes that had been carved up through the post-World War II era and carved into multiple living dwelling space within single-family homes. And the goal of the plan was to make this area the single-family neighborhood that it was designed to be. Again, we've been very successful at that. For the city to allow a short-term rental in there is antithetical to that plan. We've spent more than 25 years steadily working on our neighborhood to stabilize it, to ensure the historic preservation needs are met, to reinvest. We have an influx of young families. And to me, it's a shame to consider a beautiful 4-bedroom home as a short-term rental when we clearly have need for more single-family dwellings in that kind of condition in our neighborhood. The applicant has had it available for a year. I don't know if they were the owners that originally did the flip a year ago or so or what, but that's not compatible with the neighborhood that I live in. I can see this house from my bedroom, but I'm just outside the circle of 185 feet. If I'd been within it, I would have suggested a legal protest against this plan. A couple of other points I wanted to make with regard to parking. I have one little gravel off-street parking spot, so I park in front of my house just down the street every day. Several other neighbors on the street are in the same situation. We don't have the beautiful 2- and 3-car garages you see in the suburbs. We have to make use of the street for street parking. When we have festivals and parades and such, parking is at even more of a premium. Sometimes I can't park in front of my house because there's a parade going down the street. So parking is certainly an issue, and this house doesn't have adequate parking for that. It's already been mentioned that the 2 houses on either side are rentals. I don't know the owner of those rentals, but I can tell you, having lived there for 30 years, there have been problems from time to time with the tenants. It's just not a place to put another rental house, especially one that isn't already carved up into units. It's a beautiful home and an opportunity for single family, and that's what we would like to see it remain as. If you take nothing else away from this, remember the investment that this city has made in that neighborhood already, the millions of dollars we've spent. Property owners were allowed to apply for tax abatement by making improvements to their homes. That's what the Midtown Trim Road Corridor Plan was. Those property owners who were approved for abatement got 100% abatement for 10 years. They paid no taxes to the city because they were investing that money into their homes. The next 15 years, they were able to get 50% abatement, and those homes are checked up on every 5 years to make sure they're in compliance. That 25-year plan is still in play. It closed out in 2004 to new applications, so we still have people who applied and were approved in 2004 who are within their 25 years. It's upon us as a community to ensure that the investment those homeowners made and the investment the city has made in its infrastructure in the area are protected. And so that's why I oppose this application, and I hope that you'll be in opposition as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here who is against this case? Come on up. Thank you. State your name and address.
Anthony Robinson, 413 North Spring Street. I'm not going to add too much because I thought she did a fabulous job of expressing how single-family residents feel. We are new to the area. We love walking and seeing the homes that have been improved upon, and I believe our home itself was a multifamily that was converted to a single family. So we are one of the individuals who benefit from the type of conversion and who made a commitment to purchase a home and live in the Independence area, and we love it. And I agree, I do not believe that that is a home for a short-term rental. Living in another community that did have short-term rentals, and I know they're doing everything possible to keep things safe, but if a person wants to have a party, you're not going to stop it. And I've had individuals in another community have parties and shootings that occur, filmings and doing other different things. So that's not something that we want to add and have to worry about with people coming in and out, because some people will come in for the right reason, but others won't. And it's just a concern that I have about a short-term rental. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak against this case? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion. Oh, sorry. Yes, would you like to add anywhere?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate everybody's comments, and just a few points of clarification. Yeah, again, I feel like we are getting thrust into a situation in this particular block of some properties that have been mismanaged, and I just want to clarify that we are in no way related to these other issues that have been happening, and we'll be doing our best to ensure that we have only the highest tenants in there. You do that also by pricing. We will not be giving this house away. You can certainly do a price analysis and make sure that you're getting quality, short-term applicants coming in to spend their dollars, and you can certainly do that by adjusting price accordingly. By the way, Commissioner Wiley, I also wanted to reference that for the first years of my marriage, I did live in Thomashaw Village, so I am a former Independence resident. When our team was constructing and reconstructing this project that took months to do, our trucks and the guys' vans were there parked on a regular basis, Commissioner Nesbitt. So, we had no problems with, residents at that time, obviously coming in to rehab this property. We had a lot of, plumbers, electricians, laborers that came in, and parking, although challenging, was managed accordingly. In fact, I have gone there many times and parked right in front of that van that's parked there, right in front. There's space for a couple of cars right in front of the before you hit the no parking sign there, and had no issues. In general, I also just want to say, I know that some people can just hear rental property and they kind of look down their nose. What happened in 2008 was a very real thing. And the American dream used to be all about housing, but this has changed. And what we see is a new wave of millennials that are coming in realizing that housing to them, having been brought up in the late 90s to early 2000s, is chiefly associated with foreclosure and bankruptcy and divorce and financial and money issues. There are countless articles being written on the way that rentals now, there are build-to-rent communities. We're actually doing build-to-rent communities with short-term rentals, with long-term rentals, build-to-rent communities in the Kansas City area, in City of Lee Summit right now. So, I would challenge the panel to not look down the nose at the ability of people that choose to rent in general. And again, this being just a short-term. I have no further questions unless any comments, unless there are questions for me specifically.
Commissioners, any questions of the applicant? All right, I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to close the public portion of this hearing. Commissioners, any discussion, any more questions of staff or discussion between us?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just not so much a question, but a comment. I think this commission has entertained a great number of short-term rental applications. What we have witnessed over these so many years now is the general positive impact of short-term rentals. In many instances, they are not corporate-owned, they are individual-owned, and the impact to the community has been very positive because finally homeowners are able to generate income that are plowed back into that property. Also, short-term rental market is highly competitive. I'll reference the Airbnb platform, for instance, and you have various tiers of owner operators, and I think the gold standard is, I forget what the name. Superhost, and they get first dibs and most attention. It's highly competitive. Not only are these owners rated, but also the tenants, the short-term tenants are rated. My point is, there's always opportunity for bad apples, but what we have noticed is the positive impact of short-term rentals. Finally, I mentioned this earlier. One of the benefits of these short-term rentals is if perchance they become a problem, their license is for 1 year. It will not be renewed if it's a problem. I don't think we've had much of an issue with that. Give them a chance. Give them a chance. 10 years of vacancy, years of rehabs. I think this may be a turning point, and I think you will find short-term rentals to be a very positive impact in your neighborhood. That's what we have seen. I yield back, Madam Chair.
You know, I'm going to slightly disagree with you.
Really?
I know. I don't know what's happening. I know. But, and you know that I believe in Airbnbs. I think they can be a good investment. I think they can be good for a city, especially one that has such high tourism, or should have such high tourism as Independence. But there was a comment that caught me, and I'm not sure which one said it, but it was that when you are between two rentals in Independence, particularly in this neighborhood, if you're the one staying between two rentals that are not, you know, whether it's just the inhabitants that are not necessarily compliant or, you know, great to live next door, that's your impression of Independence. That really bothers me a lot because, as you all know, I love this city and I hate it when people talk bad about it. And we do have this stigma that, you know, we have a long way to go. And I hate that because we are a great city full of great people. And I would hate for people to visit and have that lasting impression. So that really caught me and kind of derailed my thoughts a little bit. So I don't know.
Now, where did you disagree with me, Madam Chair?
You're right, maybe I didn't, exactly.
Of course not.
I just expanded.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
as you know, I've thought a lot about this, been researching it. Overall, I'm struggling to approve any more short-term rentals. And I think the reason why is because we've had approved short-term rentals for years with what I would call very short-sighted or no codes. And we've only now started putting together regulations to talk about penalties to poor short-term rental owners or violators. We don't really have teeth yet. And that concerns me as someone who cares about and loves my city as well. But it is my angst for the homeowners in these neighborhoods with short-term rentals or potential short-term renters. I would really like to see the city have the teeth first and then look at each of these cases for their merit individually instead of, and I'm an entrepreneur, I love seeing small business owners, but I am also a renter, and I'm a great renter. So I can speak to renters, but I care a lot about the homeowners around me. So I want to have a big picture view of this thing called short-term renters before I just start handing out approvals. And I know that the moratorium is probably going to go in place until these regulations get really done. But I also know a resident came forward and just asked, hey, let me have my voice, because these are all regulations the city staff put together. We need to have citizens be a part of how do we improve those regulations so that we can hear and put what are concerns for the citizens into those regulations. Because quite frankly, we've had codes about a lot of things for a lot of years, and we struggle to have codes enforced. So that being said, I'm all for a great company to come in and improve Independence, but I don't want to be a fool and say, let's see if it works. I would really like to see the regulations first and then approve short-term rentals. So at this point, my vote's always going to be a no on a short-term rental.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Oh, yes.
I appreciate all three of your comments thus far. I'm really torn on these because I see as a frequent Airbnb user when I travel, I see the value, but I also understand that the Airbnb market has been diluted by these, investors that come in and they're not necessarily improving the neighborhoods they're in. I mean, it's kind of a bubble that's about to burst, I think. But that said, I do use Airbnbs, and I appreciate the applicant's comments about, maybe setting a price that is maybe cost prohibitive to folks that, might be more problematic. But I'll tell you, I'm looking at the picture of this house in the application, and I wouldn't want to occupy this short-term rental for, a good rate, for a rate that I think we're talking about here. The outside of the facility, or the outside of the home, I don't think is really very well maintained. This is probably a recent photo. The sidewalks are overgrown, the railings are in bad shape, looks like it needs a good paint job. As a previous abatement beneficiary in the neighborhoods west of the auditorium, I've seen how those abatements can transform neighborhoods. I know what that neighborhood was like before I moved in. I wasn't there when it went through the transformation, but my neighbors told me. And I don't think this property lives up to that standard at this point. I appreciate the comments that were made about the goals and the aims of the Truman Midtown Corridor District and the purpose and the vision for that. And I'm also the beneficiary of a code complaint letter after I occupied my home based on a sidewalk that was cracked. And I could have gone out there with some patching compound and kind of done an okay job, but no, we changed out that sidewalk. We ripped it out and we put a new sidewalk in. So I think there's a responsibility of the neighborhood that has not been met here yet, as far as the exterior quality of the home and the infrastructure that's there. It's certainly, I don't believe it's code compliant now. So I'm torn. I appreciate small business. I appreciate the comments of the public, but I'm not really sure how to take action quite yet. I'm looking for some additional feedback from my colleagues up here.
Madam Chair, I wonder.
Hold on 1 minute. Commissioner Nesbitt. Oh, okay. All right.
Well, thank you for yielding to the geezer. I wonder what did this property look like before the $70,000 was invested to do the improvement. I know factually a lot of business homeowners buy a property, and as revenue comes in, they make improvements. And I'm not saying what it looked like before, but I can probably tell you it looked a lot worse than this.
Residents are saying no.
Huh?
They're saying no.
So basically, all the improvements they did was on the inside, and you can't see it. It's all inside work, and that's what he said they did. They did a lot of inside work. Madam Chair, what I am saying here is that short-term rentals, I think, are good for certain areas because, I know, I'm sure right now, if we don't approve this as a short-term rental, they're going to turn it into a long-term rental. And then your long-term rental is going to be whatever they get. And then basically, I see lots of rental homes and they come check them once a year, maybe. And then we got overgrowth, we got peeling paint, we got trees growing everywhere. I see that happen. Now, on a short-term rental, they say they inspect it weekly or monthly, and they'll take care of the grass and all that stuff. That's one good thing I see about short-term rentals. They will keep the outside of the property looking halfway decent because they want to rent it right away. But if this does not go through as a short-term rental, I'm sure it's going to turn into a long-term rental, I'm sorry to say, because I'm sure that's what they'll end up doing since they've already tried selling it, and I guess it didn't sell, is what I'm hearing. My other thing is on this, though, for short-term rental, it does not have enough parking. It needs to have 4 parking spaces off the street. I don't know how, I thought our program said it had to have parking spaces, but I didn't mean street parking spaces. We mean parking spaces for cars off the street. And I guess we just missed that up when we did our overview. I thought we had to have parking spaces that were paved on it. And this place also looks like it's going to use a gravel driveway. And I guess it's not part of their property, but, so we can't make them do a paved parking, but that is one of the things also, they have to have paved driveway and parking. So that's another problem I see with this short-term rental. But I know that if this does not pass as a short-term rental, it's probably going to turn into long-term rental, and you guys are going to get renters, and I'm sorry to say, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I'd love to say, yes, it needs to be sold as a single-family home. I mean, it's built that way. I took one of these houses just like this that was broke up into 3 apartments. I turned it back into a single-family home. So I know that's what it takes, and it takes a lot of money. So, I mean, it does take a lot of money. We got to hope we can sell it when the time's right.
Yeah, I know we had denied a case not too long ago because it did not have a paved driveway.
Right, paved parking. I thought,
Yeah.
and that, like I say, that's the deal. I thought was one of the things we went through in our little case. I thought it had to have paved parking off the street for enough cars for, like I say, you got 4 bedrooms, they should have 4 parking spots.
And
That's what I thought.
I was going to ask staff, is that a new stipulation? I can't remember. I know we just went through the new regulations. Is that a new stipulation in the new revised code?
You know, I am not that familiar with the current one, the now current one.
Yeah.
They applied for this application under the previous code.
Understood. That was the
So,
clarification.
Yeah, this does go into the previous.
That was
So
my
I
question.
can't, I don't recall right off the bat what
Under the
those
previous one, this would
updated
not be that.
version of the
Okay,
parking
would not be that.
You're
requirements.
right.
So can I ask a clarification question to you then? If this is under the old code and we have a new code being considered, and so if we deny this, they could come back, and as far as they meet all the current or new codes, then we could reconsider them?
There is provisions in the code about applying for rezoning of property has to have a cooling off period, they call it.
Okay.
I don't believe there's anything about short-term rentals having that requirement. I don't think it's ever happened. I'm never aware that anything like that's ever happened, so.
Well, as a longtime citizen of Independence, code enforcement could prevent a lot of these citizen critiques. And so really it's more about accountability for me. And I think that until we fix that, we may continue to have these debates.
We're going to take, if it's okay, we're going to take a very short break before we finish our discussion. Is that okay?
Of course, it's okay. You're the chair.
You're right. We're taking a break, a short break at 7:42 p.m. and 4 minutes.
Good call.
I know. It's true. All right, if we could go ahead and get seated. Again, just a reminder, if you happen to turn your phones back on, mute them. And we are back in session at 7:50 PM, and we can continue discussion. Does anybody have any other comments we'd like to make, or?
Madam Chair, I make a motion.
Yes.
Approval of case 22-400-12, short-term rental with staff recommendations.
Thank you. Is there a second? And we are ready for a vote.
Commissioner Ferguson,
No.
Commissioner Michelle,
No.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
No.
Commissioner L. Wiley,
No.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Jared McLean.
No. Case number 22-400-12, short-term rental at 424 North Spring Street has been denied. Thank you, everyone, for your voices. Oh. Go ahead. Commissioner Wiley is going to step out for a minute, but we can continue with our, the next case and staff report. Next case is case number 22-400-13, short-term rental at 3421 South Arlington Avenue. A request by Lindsay Martin for a short-term rental. Staff, will you give us your report?
Yes, this is a request by Lindsay Martin for a short-term rental on South Arlington, just north of 35th Street. It's on the east side of the road, about 3 or 4 properties north of
Would somebody
35th
mind getting
Street.
the back door? I'm so sorry. Thank you. Sorry, we couldn't hear you very well, Stuart.
As you can see from the vicinity map, its location, it's in the, I want to say the extreme southwest corner of the city, but it's close to 40 Highway, as you can see on the map there, in 35th, where it intersects with 40 Highway. The applicant's property contains a house which has about 1,250 square feet. It's a wood frame, gray-sided house with 3 bedrooms for an occupancy of 6 people. It's a single wide driveway that's added onto, so it's, I could call it a 1.5 to 2 car wide driveway. It's on the north side of the property, extends from the house to the street. Go through some photos here. This is the rezoning of the area. As you can see, it's all this area is a single-family residential R6. Just along 40 Highway, there are some commercial properties. To the southeast is the former school property. That the school burned down. I don't remember what the name of the elementary school was there. That's that big brown area. They were going to actually put a housing project there that nothing happened at. That was a number of years ago. Okay, so the again, it contains a property, a house about 1,250 square feet. The neighbors, the surrounding area is a single-family neighborhood. It has primarily smaller homes on the street, which has no curb and gutter or sidewalk. Most of the houses along here are post-World War II housing, smaller lots, single-car garages, ranches style. There are 2 short-term rentals in the area. One is right across the street at 3428 South Arlington, which was approved in September of 19, and another one to the west at 3419 South Denton, which was approved in earlier this year. As you can see from the, this is the nearby short-term rentals. Again, where the S's and the circles are short-term rentals. The applicant's property is just essentially right across the street, just a little bit. This is the aerial photo of the site. The applicant's property is in red. You can see the houses along this area are pretty much ranch style, basic. They all look similar as we get into the photographs. Excuse me. Okay, the applicants say they have listed the property, are going to list the property on Airbnb and RVBO sites. It will be managed by Real B&B, Real B&B, a company based in Kansas City, and they will be responsible for most of the business operations, including screening customers and coordinating bookings. For security, the property will utilize noise monitoring software and external cameras with Real B&B addressing any guest issues. And they intend to install a noise monitoring system to ensure that reasonable amounts of noise levels are not exceeded. The tenants will be contacted by phone with verbal warning. If not, the property manager will visit the property and resolve any noise issues or to cancel the booking and evict the guest. Ted's Trash has already established weekly pickup for the property, and then the recent safety inspection did detect a couple of minor issues that need to be corrected before being passed and the business license being approved. Okay, this is the front of the property. To me. Yeah. Okay, as you can see, it's basically a smaller single-family ranch. Where the driveway goes, dead ends at the house. I believe that was previously a garage. As you look at other houses along the street, the garage is generally in the same place. You see that in older neighborhoods. Sometimes they'll convert the garage into a family room or another bedroom, something like that. This is the area of the driveway that needs improvement, as noted in your staff report. The paved driveway starts about 10 feet in from the curb of the street, the edge of the pavement of the street, but for whatever reason, that section of the driveway shown is gravel. And staff has listed that as a condition that this section be paved to match the existing concrete drive. This is the house. It's immediately south of the site. Again, you can see the similarity between this property and the applicant's property. Again, the driveway and garage on the left side of the property. Here we're looking down South Arlington towards 35th Street, which is off in the distance there. A couple more houses across the street. Again, the driveways this has been improved since it was built, but similar in design. The house may be a little bit bigger than the applicant site. This is the one that's essentially across the street or to the west, slightly northwest of this. Again, the driveway leads to a single car garage at one end of the house. Here we're looking north up South Arlington Avenue. The other houses along here you can see from this photograph are again similar to the applicant's property. This is the property that's immediately north of the site. Again, very similar. You have the single car garage accessed by a single wide driveway. Staff does recommend approval of this short-term rental with the following conditions. The short-term rental shall obtain a business license in accordance with the city code and comply with Article 3, Chapter 5 of the city code. The occupational license number shall be listed on all advertisements and online platforms. The business must resolve any pending current safety issues noted in the attached fire inspection and comply with all safety and other standards established by the short-term rental section of the Unified Development Ordinance. The maximum occupancy of the premises is limited to 6. The section of the driveway between the street pavement and the concrete portion of the driveway must also be paved with an all-weather surface, asphalt or concrete. This must be completed before the approval of the business license, and then the noise monitoring system shall be installed and activated prior to the approval of their business license.
Thank you. All right, the commissioners, do you have any questions of staff before we bring the applicant forward? Okay, will the applicant come forward, please? And state your full name and your address.
Hello, I'm Lindsay Martin. I live at 7994 Northwest Mace Road in Kansas City. I feel like there is not a lot I can add to the discussion that was had to the previous property, other than this is our first investment property. We do not have hundreds that we are looking after. This has been, I've been a stay-at-home mom for 7 years, and this has been my foray back into working. You know, this, we took time to find the right property in a great location. That neighborhood is wonderful. I've spoken, Mrs. Bowen lives in that yellow house right there. She's 80 years old. I love to take my my youngest daughter over to talk to her, and I very much want to protect the integrity of that neighborhood with this home. I have been, the property management company can attest to the fact that I have pestered them nonstop about taking care of any issues that come up to be taken care of promptly, because I myself am a rule follower, and I like to be prompt and take care of things as they come up. There will be noise monitoring on the property. There are cameras at the front and back door to make sure that occupancy guidelines are not disobeyed. The company that I have chosen to manage the property is a local company. They're here in Kansas City. In the 3 years that they have been operating, they have had 2 house parties that, thanks to the noise level monitors, were shut down within the hour, and the occupants were evicted, and the booking was canceled. And that was one of the reasons I chose them, because I do not want to disturb the current residents in that neighborhood.
Thank you.
If there are any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay, now, as to the parking and the driveway, you plan on getting that fixed? No problem?
Yes, I actually I got the email this weekend, and I contacted a couple companies to get bids on having the asphalt covered on for the.
Now, are you
Under the
gonna take
driveway.
it, I mean, you said it was only 1.5 wide, is that right?
Well, it's wider than a single car, but maybe not a full 2-car wide driveway.
Okay, so now I'm back to the point again that our rules say, so 3 bedrooms gotta be able to put 3 cars on there.
Well, I think once it's a house that's decently back from the street.
I see that, but if they only park 2 cars, I'm trying to figure out, looks like to me it's probably somewhere about 45 feet long. And basically that's 2 cars, third car stay out on the street. And if she plans on making that a little bit wider so they can put 4 cars there, I'd be great with it, but I don't know what her plans are over there. That's something that I like to look at, and that's something that we're trying to get enforced, so.
We certainly, while I was working on the property right after we bought it in September, we personally have had 4 cars easily. I drive an Expedition, my aunt drives a van, and we had 2 sedans behind those cars comfortably in the driveway.
Okay, yeah, well, if it's wide enough for 4 cars, I mean,
Yes,
that's
sir.
2 cars, that'd be great, so. That's all, so basically you got a 3rd bedroom in the garage that is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then exit points are good according to our new rules and everything?
Yes, they passed the fire inspection.
But I'm asking about the newer rules that we've come out with, because you
Well,
applied.
no, they applied before those. Those are actually not in effect yet. I was incorrect before, but they applied before those went through the planning commission.
Okay, I understand that, but I wanted her to know that before she can get the license next time renewed, doesn't she have to apply to it? Renewals?
Well, yeah, she has to renew it. I don't know that she's required to update it to the current standards. No, it would be
Was
the
that
standards that would be in place when she was
So
approved originally.
basically, they're grandfathered in once that we approve is what you're saying.
That would be my understanding, yes. I don't know if the counselor would want to address that further, but
May I ask what the standard is?
We went through some new rules last meeting that we approved to go through city council, and things are exits and then signs posted, the driveway, and then, like I say, the parking. I'm trying to remember other rules that we put out there. There's quite a few.
The sound, which she's doing.
Yeah, the
and
sound monitor,
cameras.
which you
There
are
are
doing.
signs in each bedroom that have exits posted,
Okay.
primary and secondary
Well,
exits
but
in each
also,
bedroom.
I think there's supposed to be posted signs with your name or whoever's doing the,
It also has a property management name and phone number.
okay, yeah, like
Listed
all
on
that
it.
That was
stuff.
another
Yeah.
one, and then
Yeah.
having somebody close.
Yeah, and send somebody
Who was
close. So, I
responsible.
mean, I didn't catch where you lived at. Do you live close or
I live up by the airport.
by the airport? Oh, that's within 20, 30 minutes, so, okay. That's just my question.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I think this may be a wonderful opportunity for the council to wade in and do a point of clarification. Would you, council?
Yes, the standards that apply at the time of approval would be what would be judged for or reviewed at the time that the business license is up for renewal, yes.
We good? Any more questions of the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll probably bring you back up. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for this case? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against this case? Seeing none, does anybody have any other questions of the applicant before I close this public hearing? Okay, public portion of this hearing is closed. Commissioners, any more discussion, questions? I'd entertain a motion.
Well, Madam Chair, this one here looks something like the other one that we just did. The thing is that it looks like it's more reasonable for this area for the short-term rental. I mean, we're back to, like I said, if we do not give them a short-term rental, it'll go probably to a long-term rental. Then, like I say, it's the outside being kept up. It's one thing I see for the neighborhood. Short-term rentals will keep it looking nicer because they want to rent them. That's one thing I do see that is nice about short-term rentals. Looks like to me they're going to get the parking issues, so I'm good with that aspect because as long as there's plenty off-street parking, I like that aspect of it. I can't think of anything else that I don't see that's bad about that unless you guys have any comments.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think this one feels a little different in that it might,
It's not as big of a house.
Yeah.
I mean, a big house, 4-bedroom, that just invites party if you ask me.
yeah, probably not wrong. Any other comments? I entertain a motion.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
In the matter of case number 22-400-13, short-term rental, 3421 South Arlington Avenue. Short-term rental, I move for approval with the stipulations as so stated.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, and we're ready for the vote.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Michelle,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley,
No.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Chair McLean.
Yes. Case number 22-400-13, short-term rental at 3421 South Arlington Avenue has been approved. Best of luck. All right, next case is case 22-400-14, short-term rental at 213 East 24th Terrace South, a request by Misty Kearney for a short-term rental. Staff, will you give us a report, please?
Okay, as you can see from the vicinity map, this is in the Prairie Landing Edition, the new Prairie Landing Edition off of Jackson Drive, just south of where Holkey comes into Jackson Drive. As you can see, that's would be East 24 Terrace Court, that cul-de-sac. Well, it's a loop anyway at the end of it. Project description, Misty Kearney seeks approval of a home business permit to operate a short-term rental at 20013 East 24 Terrace Court South. As far as the history and physical characteristics of this property, this 2,047 square foot stone and tan ranch house with 4 bedrooms, would have an occupancy of 10 people. According to Jackson County records, this house was constructed within the past year. The characteristics of this area, of this a fairly new single-family residential neighborhood, mostly constructed during 2 different time periods, one before the financial crisis and then another spurt in the last 5 or so years. The subdivision plat east of Jackson Drive, which this is part of, is nearly completed with just a few lots left. Parking situation, the property has a 2-car driveway leading to a 2-car garage. So I think 6 cars, you could say 4, it depends upon how long the cars are. 4 or 6 cars could park on the lot. 4 in the driveway, 2 in the garage. Additionally, a car could park on the street out front. But the guest rule book states there will be no parking on the street overnight. As far as unruly guests and security, the parking will, the property will be listed on the VRBO and Airbnb websites. The property manager indicates she lives 9 minutes away from the property, and the manager intends to provide the guests with the rules to abide by that must be signed before the stay. The neighbors, they provide the neighbors with the property manager's number. The guests with 1 warning. If problems continue, they will be removed from the property. Parties will not be allowed on the property. Renters will sign a statement that additional guests beyond the 8 and 10 people will not be allowed. And there will only be given one warning before their removal. Trash removal. Trash pickup will be provided by AAA Trash Service. And as far as inspections go, the property has been inspected by the fire inspector and passed the initial short-term rental safety inspection. And so the following items will be provided to each guest: a map identifying routes that shall be provided to each guest and posted in each guest room, carbon monoxide detection as required by code, child-proof electrical outlets, emergency contact information for the owner and manager shall be provided to each guest and posted on each guest room. Of course, the fire extinguishers as required by code, and the smoke detectors as required by code. So this is, whoop, I got the wrong photo here. Okay, that's an error. That was the previous case. I don't know how they got in there. Okay, so we'll just go straight to the pictures in the neighborhood here. So this is the house. To the south of it is that flat field that used to be the airport, you know, down below there in the valley. Okay. That's where Prairie Landing idea came from. And this is looking to the west there, around the loop, and across the street, and then down the street to the east. And this is the neighbor, of course, to the east. Staff recommends approval of this short-term rental request with the following conditions. The short-term rental shall obtain a business license in accordance with the city code and comply with Article 3, Chapter 5 of the city code. The occupation license number shall be listed on all advertisements and all online platforms. Number 2, the business shall comply with all safety and other standards established by the short-term rental section of the UDO. And number 3, The maximum occupancy of the premises shall be limited to 8 adults for total people of 10. That concludes my talk, and I'm ready to take any questions you may have.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions before we pull the applicant up?
The only question I have is gonna be for 8 adults and 10 total. Why we keep upping the 2? You're just because kids can sleep on the floor or something?
I mean, that's the way the current
Is that what the code
code
said?
reads, yeah.
My opinion, I think it should go back. That's a 4-bedroom house, right then? Correct?
Yep.
4-bedroom house?
Right.
Okay, that should go back to 8 adults, period, and a total occupancy of 8 people, I would think. That's what I'd like to see happen in the future. That's just my opinion.
Commissioner,
Yeah.
people have children, and they take them with them.
So 4 bedrooms, that's 2 per bedroom. That's why I'm saying 8 total should be total. I mean, now they're gonna sleep the rest of them on the floor.
They can count them in the 8.
Perhaps there would be 2 infants that you would not leave in a bedroom by themselves.
I'm not giving you guys another break again. Oh, man. No, that's a good point. Any other questions? All right. Will the applicant please come forward and state your full name and your address, please? Hi.
Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I don't get up in
Oh,
front
don't
of
be
all
nervous.
people.
It's just us.
So my name is Misty Carney, and I live at 25550 East Bunchue, Independence, Missouri.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I don't really have a lot to, I guess, add to it, but when we bought into this neighborhood, we did buy it as an investment. I do value the neighbors and making sure that their homes stay, you know, like, I would want somebody that came in next to me to make sure that they kept it up and kept it nice, and that's why we chose to go with the short-term rentals instead of long-term. I just feel that I'm going to be the one managing it, and I can make sure that it stays nice, that the yard is nice, the property is nice. Our stuff will be done on VRBO and Airbnbs where it will be listed. I don't allow, so this will be the 3rd short-term rental that we've had, and I don't allow you to book now. You know how you can go in and just hit book now? I don't allow that. You have to request to contact me, and I talk to every person that rents from me. I'm kind of crazy and go do a lot of research, so anything they've ever put online I know about. So I do really try to make sure that who is coming into these homes are, you know, I don't know how to say that nicely, but just are going to take care of it.
Nice people.
Yes, that is how our family travels. Everywhere we travel, we stay in VRBOs. So we actually just sold our home about 1.5 years ago or 2 years ago, it seems forever, and bought land out here to build in. And in that time period when we were trying to find a place to live before we could get onto our land, the VRBO sector of this area is lacking. It was very hard to find a place that, for one, we would want to live in for that long, or that was close enough for us to. So it's just, I think it provides something to the community. It brings money into the community. We're going to be close to the hospital, so we hope that families that are coming in to see their family members maybe in the hospital would have a place to stay. We're close to the stadiums. Our last VRBO we had in Kansas City, most of what we had there were softball and baseball families that came in to do tournaments and then would leave for the week after the tournament. So I plan to give my number. I know some of the neighbors have my phone number already. They're welcome to call me. But we want our property to stay as nice and clean and have respectful people in there as they do, because it is our investment as well. And I will be the one personally making sure that happens.
Thank you. Any questions?
Ma'am, so that's a brand-new house built, or did you guys buy the
It
house?
is brand new. It's brand new.
So did you guys build the house, or you have a
No,
developer?
we bought it.
You bought it that way?
Mhm.
To just be an investment for our.
Correct.
Okay.
Did you say this was your third?
This would be our third VRBO that we've had. We've had one in Blue Springs. We have sold. It was a lake house. We've had one in Bend, Oregon. That one was a little harder, so we decided to keep them closer to home. And then this would be the third one that I have done like the rental part of. And we've personally rented, like I've personally done all of them. I don't have a company that does them for us.
It's not a requirement of the current code, and we've talked about current code versus incoming code several times tonight already. But there's been a number of short-term rental applicants who have voluntarily added noise monitoring to the property. Are you opposed
We
to that?
plan on doing that and also adding cameras on the outside of the property as well.
Would you object if we memorialized those intentions in the
Recommendation.
the report?
Not
Is that
at all.
something we're allowed to do?
You
Councilman?
mean like put it in the statement saying that I need to do that in order to get it?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah, I'm totally fine with that.
I don't have anything else.
Now, you do know this is only, short-term's 30 days. You were talking about you was looking for a place to live while you're having a house built. House usually takes.
No. No,
Okay.
we have our home now. We live out on our land
Okay.
already. That was when I was looking for a place to stay, and we were looking for short term because we needed only like 30 days, and they were either way downtown or.
Well,
too
that's why I'm
south.
saying, usually when people build houses, they're 6, 8, 9, 10 months. That's why I'm saying 30 days.
No, ours was just trying to get out onto our land, so it was just we just needed a quick thing, but no worries, we
Okay.
bunked with family, so.
Any other questions? All right, thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for this case? Is there anyone here who would like to speak again? Oh, for. Have you been sworn in? I have. Okay, then come on up to the podium and state your full name and your address.
My name's Quentin Carney. I live at 2550 East Bunchhill.
Thank you.
I just want to follow with what my wife said. She truly does. Any person that books, she stalks them on Facebook, Twitter. I mean, she goes down the list, and they don't get in. If it's not a clean account, they don't get in. She just will go on to the next person. So I know that there's worry about, well, what if these people come in that are crazy? That could be any of your neighbors. I mean, the point, we do our very best to make sure that we don't put anybody at risk. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for this case? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against this case? Come on up, please. Just state your full name and your address.
Belly Brooks, 20,004 East 24th Terrace Court South. And there was some confusion. The neighbors signed legal protests and had them notarized, but I guess there was some confusion on when we had to turn them in. My understanding was before the meeting, which I was thinking like 10 minutes before the meeting, but I guess it's a different set of circumstances because the neighbors did go out of their way to sign them, have them notarized. So I would like to be able to submit them.
Counselor?
The code requires them to be submitted to the commission at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting. So at this point, a legal protest could not be filed.
Okay.
So is there any way this can be continued then so they can look at the legal protest? Because, I mean, it was a lot of work going to each neighbor, them being willing to sign it and then get it notarized.
Counselor?
Code does not provide for such a process. However, this citizen may give testimony as to the concerns she has, et cetera, on that and what has been relayed to her.
Yeah.
Does
So-
that answer,
Okay.
sorry, Chairman McLean, does that answer your question about,
Yes, thank you. That's all right.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. So you can, the best thing to do is to give us your grievances and your, you know, what,
Okay.
how you are feeling about it. You will have another opportunity, of course, at the council, city council meeting.
Oh, it goes.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It stops with us.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, well, I appreciate everyone signing the petition then. Okay, so my name is Billy Brooks. Once again, I am here tonight to oppose the potential short-term rental on my block. I live directly across from the potential short-term rental, and this is a new concept at Prairie Landing. We've never had any type of rentals, long-term or short-term, up until 2 years ago. When my husband and I purchased our home in Prairie Landing 13 years ago, we did so because we felt the area was safe, it was quiet, it was secluded from the hustle and bustle of the city, and felt like you were living in the country. Lots of young families, a new elementary school, and there were standards that were established for the neighborhood, which I will get into in a bit. In regards to the potential short-term rentals, I am opposed because it goes against everything that I want in a neighborhood. We all want to feel safe, have quiet surroundings, and to know our neighbors. This does the exact opposite. We don't want strangers, transients living in our neighborhood. We don't want strangers coming and going all hours of the night. We don't want the noise, the extra traffic, or the potential of crime from individuals who are not being fully vetted by the VRBO. From my understanding, the only person being vetted would be the person making the reservation, not every person staying in the property, and that is a concern. There are lots of children in our community that walk home from the school bus, and having unknown individuals residing in this STR is a safety concern. Several neighbors have submitted protest petitions, which I mentioned, to show that we do not support this STR in our community. By neighbors standing together to oppose this STR, we are looking to protect our children, community, and our investments in nest eggs. Lastly, I would like to let you know that Prairie Landing is a community improvement district, which I'm going to hand you out copies of what I'm going to go through. So just give one to each of you.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me look at mine, so it may take a moment. Okay, the document I am referencing was filed with Jackson County, Missouri on December the 4th of 2008, instrument number 2008 E0124814. The document is called First Amended and Restated Declarations of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions for the Prairie Landing Community Improvement District. I would like to point out a few sections that prohibit short-term rentals in Prairie Landing. First, I will reference articles that explain how an owner becomes a part of the district. I'll first reference page 10, Article 5, Section 5.1. Each owner, by acceptance of the deed for such owner's lot or unit, regardless of whether it shall be so expressed in any such deed, hereby covenants and agrees, and shall be deemed to covenant and agree, to pay to the district or its nominee the initiation fee, capital assessment, annual maintenance assessment, and any additional assessments. If you can go to page 7, Article 3.1, membership and voting rights in the district. The owner of each lot shall be a member. Prior to the turnover date, the declarant should also be a member. And I'm not really going to read that section. I'm going to talk about the initiation fee. When an owner buys a property, they are charged an initiation fee of $250, which shall be payable by the new owner to the district. I'm just going to summarize. I'm not going to read every, if that's okay, paragraph. Now, I did provide you with Jackson County property taxes for both of these properties that Misty Kearney and Prairie Landing is trying to make an STR. And on the property taxes on page number 2, you can see there's an initiation fee for this community improvement district of $250. And then there's the annual assessment fee of $505, showing that these two properties are within the community improvement district. Okay, now page 6, Article 2. 2.1 says property subjected to declaration. Declarant hereby declares that the property is and shall be held, transferred, sold, conveyed, and occupied, subject to the covenants, conditions, restrictions, easements, assessments, charges, and liens set forth, all of which are for the purpose of enhancing and protecting the value, desirability, and attractiveness of the property. These easements, covenants, restrictions, conditions, assessment, charges, and liens shall run with the property, shall be binding upon all parties having or acquiring any right, title, or interest in the property, and shall inure to the benefit of each and every owner. Next, I would refer you to page 18. Article 9, Section 9.1, business or commercial purposes. Except as otherwise provided in this declaration, no unit or structure erected on a lot or any portion thereof shall ever be placed, erected, or used for business, professional, trade, or commercial purposes, provided, however, that this restriction shall not prevent an owner from maintaining an office area in his residence in accordance with the applicable ordinances of the city. So since they're applying for a business license for this particular property, according to these documents, that is prohibited. Next, I would refer you to page 19, Article 9, Section 9.6, lease of a unit. No unit or part thereof shall be rented or used for transient or hotel purposes, which is defined as rental of less than 1 month duration or under, which occupants are provided customary hotel services, such as room service for food and beverages, maid service, or similar services. And then it goes on to talk about long-term rentals as well. Lastly, I would refer you to page number 25, Section 14, Article 14, Section 14.5, enforcement. The district or any owner may enforce these covenants, conditions, and restrictions against the district or any owner by a proceeding at law or in equity against any persons or persons violating or attempting to violate any covenant, condition, restriction, and easement, either to restrain such violation or recover damages, or to enforce any lien created herein against the land. The failure by the district or any owner to enforce any covenant, condition, or restriction contained herein shall in no event be deemed a waiver of the right to do so thereafter. I would ask that you honor Prairie Landing's covenants, conditions, and restrictions and deny this applicant's request. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oops, sorry. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
should we wait to, I want to ask Counselor their opinion. Should we wait now, do it now, or wait until later?
This document has no bearing on the commission's consideration of the application. That's the simplest I can put it.
Can I ask why?
It's a private document, and it deals with the community improvement district. It's just unrelated to the present use application that's before the commission.
Okay, thank you.
I've got, well, go ahead, Commissioner.
The council's council is consistent with the numerous opinions of council that have come with this commission over the years. Totally consistent.
Agreed.
And
Commissioner Michelle.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I've not been the benefit of those conversations, and I ask these questions more for the education of the audience and myself as well, and for public record. This is I know enough about real estate, maybe to be dangerous, but people that own property are bound to these stipulations when they buy the property. Is that correct?
If there's a document that purports to deal with certain property and it's still in force, all of which we do not know with respect to this particular document, again, because it's not known and it's unrelated to the application, but speaking just theoretically and without giving any legal advice as to the effect of any third-party document not relevant to these proceedings, which I cannot give, but yes, you can have documents that are bound upon people for certain reasons in their ownership of property. And if they are enforceable, if they are still in force, then that can give rise to certain obligations to other parties, but they don't relate to land use applications such as the one that's before the commission today or tonight.
So if this is not relevant to our decision-making tonight, which I understand, that does not mean that the neighbors cannot lean on the enforcement stipulations of this agreement. If this is in effect and applicable, the property owners in this area still have rights and are able to enforce in accordance with the document, but it's not applicable to our decision-making tonight.
Correct. It's theoretically possible there could be many types of obligations or instruments or documents that affect the ability of a person to make use of their land as it relates to the rights of other entities and other persons. But you're correct, Commission member, that in theory does not relate to the approval of the application before the commission. Those are separate private matters to the extent that they exist.
Okay, I have one other question as it relates to her testimony. I understand that the legal protest is not valid. We cannot entertain it, as you know, it's not able to be entered. Is it of interest to the commission, or is it advisable that we know how many people signed it? Is it irrelevant or irrelevant?
Yeah, the issue of my recommendation would be that if there was testimony by a person that said, I spoke to so many people and they said that they were not in favor of it, it's hearsay, but the commission, that's like anything else that's said before, can take that into consideration. But at this point, there is not a legal protest petition before the commission, so there's no need, in my opinion, to examine anything related to it.
That's all I had, again, for public record and informational purposes. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll call you back up in just a minute. Are you wanting to speak against this case? Can I go ahead and swear her in if she did not swear in before? Oh, you did swear in? Oh, well, then you can come up and. Yeah, I wasn't sure who swore and who didn't. Will you state your full name and address, please?
Shelley Lee, 2400 South Glenview Avenue
Yep,
in
you're
Independence.
tall. You can set it up on the top shelf.
Thanks.
That's weird.
Just to maybe clear up some confusion, I don't really understand what he's saying about it not being a valid document since this CID is active. We pay $505 a year and have since 2008 when we moved into the home. Every lot pays $505 a year. That money was taken from T.E. Woods to do the development, put in roads and sewers, and we're the ones paying it back and have every year. It is an active document. It is
relevant, in my opinion, to this conversation, because those were covenants and deeds and restrictions that were approved by Jackson County when that development was put in place. So I don't really understand why it's being called not relevant, but in my opinion, it is, because we're the ones who live there, and we do not want businesses run in our community. It's a single-family home community, and as we've been before this commission before, trying to make sure that Prairie Landing continues to be the only new housing development in the independent school district and continues to grow and hopefully will continue to grow. So I just wanted to point out that for every year, $505 paying back the CID, it's active.
Oh, I keep forgetting to turn this on. Thank you, I appreciate it. Can you clarify just a little bit, I think for the record, that the legality of that document and its pertinence to us and our decision?
Sure, I cannot give an opinion as to the legality of the document.
Right.
What I can give an opinion to, sorry, Commissioner McLean, Chairman McLean, assuming that the document is what it purports to be, and it's a CID document, it requires repayment of these annual dues and stuff. That's not uncommon. CIDs are all around the metro area. Any owner of property within the CID is bound by the conditions and to pay the assessments and fees that apply to that CID. And if the applicant owns property within the CID, and that's the subject of this hearing, then they're bound to comply with whatever provisions are applicable to them. But that is unrelated to the question before the commission of whether or not the applicant may seek a land use approval for a short-term rental that's before the commission tonight.
That helps a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak against this case? Are you sworn in, sir?
I have not been sworn in.
Let me raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth before this commission? Say I do.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Your full name and address, please.
My name is Tom Carlson. I live at 20,000 East 24th Terrace Court South. So I'm basically catty corner to this property that we're discussing. I pay my taxes, including this extra, every year, just as all we do in there. So I'm paying an extra $500 for a document that doesn't apply to a situation. That doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't make any bit of sense to me. Why do I pay taxes for a document that's not in force? If part of it's in force, it's all in force. Obviously, I'm against this because of all the things that Billy has said. It was obvious when she went and got the petitions that she was not giving proper information, or we would have had that done and it would have been before you 24 hours or whatever the stipulation would have been. But she was not given that information because she had been around the neighborhood and knocking on doors, and she has at least 12 and maybe more of these petitions that are signed and notarized for us that are in the neighborhood that are against this. Now, this neighborhood has just recently gone through this, as it's been said, there's the old part and then there's the new part. And I happen to be part of the old part, and it was a pretty decent little neighborhood. And now all of a sudden we got a house on every lot, but they're all from people that want to, not all of them, many of them are people that are trying to make money, develop. It's an investment. It's not for being a long-term single-family dwellings, which is what we're moved out there for and the reason that we live there. So I just don't see why a decision that has to do with the money that I pay the City of Independence, which you should represent, I would think, as being the commission, if my taxes aren't representative of what we're paying, why do I pay them? This doesn't make any sense. So don't tell me that part of that document is good so you can get my tax money, which we owe and have been paying every year, and then tell me the rest of that document is not relevant and it doesn't apply to what we're deciding here. There's a great many people in the subdivision that do not want this in there, and I plead with you all not to approve it.
Thank you for your voice. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak against? Thank you for telling me. Will you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the whole truth before this commission?
I do.
Thank you.
My name is Linda Finger. I live at 2323 South Hanover.
Thank you.
Avenue.
Oh, now you got to put the mic down
Oh,
a little bit.
okay. Sorry. I was like, behind me. So I don't live next to this house. I actually live catty corner from a house by the same owner that we're going to be talking about probably in just a few minutes, but same neighborhood. And we just bought our house last year. We've lived in this neighborhood for a year. We've lived in Independence on the east side for 15 years now. And we moved into this neighborhood because we wanted to stay in Independence. We could have moved anywhere else, but we chose to stay here because we love our city. But we wanted to raise our family in a really great neighborhood, or continue to do that. In the neighborhood that we were in, it didn't have the same values anymore that we were looking for. So we scoured all over Independence, and you can ask our realtor. We probably looked at 30 to 40 different houses, drove him crazy before we finally found the one. And this was it. It had everything: the community, the safety we were looking for, also the quiet, peaceful, like forested area. Our house backs up to the airport, the old airport, but there's some forest back there, so we can hear the animals. I hear owls at night, coyotes chirping in the background. It's amazing. My biggest concern is my children. I know that these people said that they vet like crazy, and I know you don't always know who your neighbors are, but it only takes one. And we only have one bus stop up at the very top of the hill. So all the children at the back ends of the street have to walk down. So you can't see everything that's going on. And the only person, like somebody else commented, that's being vetted is the one person that's renting the house, not the 7 or 9 other people that are gonna be there. I myself am a teacher in the school district, so I do worry about safety every single day, and these children that are coming on and off the buses. I want our city to grow, but I do think about the investments. I get that part of it, but I really just want to keep the neighborhoods where we have these great family units. Keep it a family unit. Keep that celebration of what makes Independence so great. Keep that there, and find maybe some other places, like for the short term, maybe, I don't know, closer to the actual hustle and bustle of the city. This is a really quiet area. It's not that close. I know it seems like it's close to 39th Street. That's part of why we liked it, but it is a really quiet area, and we don't have to worry about all the extra stuff. And that's my biggest thing. So please take that into account when you're making these decisions about this house and the one coming up. That's all I have to say.
I don't think we clearly got your name and address. Could you repeat it again?
It's Linda Finger, like on your hand, and it's 2323 South Hanover Avenue, Independence, Missouri, 64057.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak against? And you're sworn in, right?
Yes. I'm William Hoots. I live at 19805 East 24th Terrace Court South in Independence, just within the same community. I'm kind of surprised. This is my 7th house I've owned and my 3rd one in an HOA. And all 3 times, including this one where I bought a year ago, actually about June of 21, but the house was finished about 6 months ago. I was given the covenants by the builder, who is the builder of half of the lots in this whole prairie development. Basically, he's about half of doing all of them. And my real estate agent and I went over that with a fine-tooth comb, and I don't understand how, if these things aren't pertinent or not upheld, why are the buyers, I'm sure they were told, and she was told, and maybe even Shelley, why are we told that we have to follow these covenants if they're not really active? You can throw all the legalese you want, but for someone that's a nurse in a nearby hospital, I can start an IV. I don't know how to decipher and tell the builder or my agent, are you sure these are active, or are they not today because the sun rose on the west side, but tomorrow it'll rise on the east side? Now it's not going to, I understand the non-clarification of that to home buyers. It's very misleading. I purchased because I saw those covenants. I actively sought out for them, asked them. I wanted to buy somewhere that wasn't going to have businesses like a multi-use or a short-term rental. I could have lived anywhere. I make enough money. I could have bought in Kansas. I wanted to stay near my dad. I don't really understand the discrepancy. I don't know the law, and I don't really understand how a developer / builder can tell a potential buyer that these are the active covenants, even though the HOA is inactive. These covenants are in place. So I'm against it, and if you guys can make clarification of why buyers are given all these covenants when they're not really active, I don't know. Maybe you can make light of that for someone that's naive about that stuff. But thank you.
Thank you, appreciate you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak against this case? State your name and address, please.
Well, my name is also William Hoots. I'm William L. Hoots. That was my son. I live at 2318 South.
Yeah, I thought so.
Heartland Court.
Okay.
Which is a couple of blocks away from this particular house, but it's the same subdivision. I moved from Hialeah, which is just 2 miles away, or maybe less, after 27 years. And part of the reason I moved there was because this was going to be a single-family residential area. Never was I told that there could be short-term rentals. In fact, Shelley was my agent, and she emphatically told me that there would be no short-term rentals. I'm happy with the place. There are kids. The kids run. I happen to live in a cul-de-sac, and the kids are there. But what is really concerning is you now have 2 of them on the docket tonight, but there have got to be 10 to 15 houses in that subdivision that are empty. 2 of them are right across the street from me. If you approve this short-term rental, they're going to be right back here again trying to rent those other 2 right across the street because they've been sitting there for 4 or 5 months now, empty. So they can't sell them. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to come right in here and try to short-term rent those also. So I'm against it for those reasons. I prefer to live in an area that you know your neighbor. And my neighbor has 2 kids. They run in my yard. I have a little dog. That dog runs in their yard, and I'm very careful to get him back in this yard, her back in this yard when she goes over there. But it is a family-type environment, and we don't know what's going to go on. Not so much over there where these folks are trying to rent, but when these 2 houses right across the street from me, which will happen, we don't know what's going to happen, and so therefore I'm against it.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak against this case? All right, would the applicant like to come up and speak to any of the issues that have been brought up?
I really do understand their concern about rentals, but rentals are a part of life, and there's going to be rentals. This house will be either a long-term or a short-term rental. We hope it is a short-term rental because, like I said before, we have way more control over it. We can control if they have animals. We can control how long they stay. We can control if they have a party. They are bound by contracts that they must leave. If we put long-term renters in, we don't have that control. We lose actually a lot of our control. I mean, we have rental property in Blue Springs that we've had people in there 6 months that haven't paid a dime. There's nothing we can do. You know, it's like, so it takes time. And with this, we have more control over it. To his concern about having more short-term rentals, you cannot have more than one in that. We've been told by the city is that on one city block or one square block, you can only have one, so there wouldn't be allowed to have another one on that, is what we were told.
Well, it's block face, not block. So actually, you could have one across the street
Okay, so,
or behind, but well, it's a field behind. But
okay. And the other thing is, when we bought in this neighborhood, we were told that the HOA is null and void. It is not, that these documents are not active, that there is no HOA in this neighborhood.
There is no HOA, but the covenants are in place.
CID and HOA are not the same thing.
Covenants are still in place.
I can only take comments from the podium.
Okay, that's what we were told, is that we would be able to rent in it. So we're just going off of what we were told by our, the builder. I'm sorry,
Are
you
there
think that's funny, sir?
Do you have any questions with the applicant?
Not an applicant, I'd like to have the, I want to say the realtor lady come back up and clarify a couple things.
Okay. Sir, are you good with me?
No, I'm done with you, thanks.
You are done with me?
Yes,
Okay.
I am, yes, sorry.
So again.
Wait a minute, wait till you get the mic. So I need you to clarify the CID. and
Okay, the CID,
Okay.
the Community Improvement District,
Uh-huh.
is the overall document. The HOA, which is not currently active, is part of that document. They are two different entities. We can reestablish the HOA anytime we want. And I don't know how that's going to work legally with all the people who've been breaking the rules for the deeds and restrictions, but that'll be for an attorney to hash out with us. But I just want to be clear that the CID is an overall document, and the HOA then is under that umbrella and has to follow those deeds and restrictions. But we are not currently collecting HOA dues. T.E. Woods did when we first started in the neighborhood. Dues were like $450 a year. We were made all kinds of promises about pools and walking trails, and as you know, that didn't happen. So then when T.E. Woods went down and the land went back to the bank, the HOA was inactivated and they didn't collect any more dues. But that doesn't mean it can't be reactivated at any time, because this document is still in place. Now, it'll be paid off in 2025, I understand, which will open a whole nother issue about how that, it never goes away. Commerce Bank is the trustee. They are the ones that oversee it. I understand it doesn't really ever go away, but it'll be paid back in 2025.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you can come back up.
If the complaint is something that the CID, is an issue with the CID, then the CID would need to bring that complaint, not this. And so that's why these are null and void. I'm not an attorney, but I've been around, and so that's what we would need to do. An HOA, it's null and void, it's defunct. I didn't pay any fees, I never saw any documents. So, I mean, really, the arguments of the standing of these documents is just, it's worthless. And so, based upon our application, you can't consider any of that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, hold on 1 minute.
Madam Chair.
I think that what we're all getting confused about is, my understanding of what the counselor is saying is that for our purposes, we can only consider the question at hand. It's not within our purview to know whether that's right, wrong, applicable, whatever. We only can do what is in front of us, because we're just zoning and special permit, special use. So I think that we probably should just sit in our lane and kind of make our decision based on those things. Now you can come up if you'd like to.
It's just real. Again, we're buying houses, all the current people in the last 2 years, it's probably tripled the size, maybe 4 times the size amount of houses just in the last 3 years that it used to be, which basically it's only 10 houses or so from being completely done on both sides of Jackson. We still bought it under the auspices that we have to follow these covenants and restrictions, whether it was legal or not. We were misled by builders / real estate agents / banks when we asked for these covenants, because we want to check all of our cross our T's, you know, and you can't. That's why you guys are here, to listen to the people, as well as your zoning, like you said. So I speak for me, but I know other people were told that these were active, at least what you had to follow. I'm sure they were told that, and they still bought 2 properties, so that's too bad for them. I feel like they should follow what we were all told, the majority of people, and that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do we have any more questions of the applicant? No. Okay, I'm going to close the public portion of this hearing. And commissioners, any discussion, questions of staff?
Comment, Madam Chair.
Yes.
As a commission, we're obligated to stay in our lane. The council has given appropriate remarks.
Just be sure to remind everybody that make sure their microphone is on and they're speaking into it.
It's on. I'm just too far away. I guess I'm getting old. Anyway, council has given comment, and we have to stay in our lane, and it is not incumbent upon this commission to get into the merits of the CID content or HOAs. That is beyond us. However, and I often reference this, I think Madam Chair at the time was, like myself, was just new to the commission. And we had a case somewhere south of 23rd Street. I was uncomfortable with it. However, there were no residents in attendance. And what Chair Lady McLean, Standard Commissioner McLean at the time, said to me, we do the business of the people. They're at work. They're doing the best they can. We have the obligation to do what is right by the people. I'll tell anyone, I am a proponent and advocate for short-term leasing because I've seen the positive impacts in certain communities. However, property owners have the right to the quiet enjoyment of their home. And when anything poses a threat to that, it is a threat to their psychological comfort. Neighborhoods' integrities have to be preserved, and the will of the people must be recognized. not because of an HOA and not because of a CID. That's not our business here. But we are obligated to listen to the voices of the people, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments or concerns?
So and I agree, thank you, Billy, well spoken. And I agree with you. So as I see it, there's two outcomes here, and I'll ask for an interpretation thereof. But if this case is approved, then the property owners, the neighboring property owners have, if they believe, recourse through this document. They can do what they must do as they deem appropriate. If this case is denied, then the recourse for the applicant is to file an appeal and bring whatever legal standing they feel they have to bear.
To City Council.
To City Council. So those are the two outcomes as I see it here.
I have a comment. As I've stated earlier tonight, until there's better regulations in place, I am opposed to short-term rentals. But Misty, I have to tell you, as an owner, in your due diligence, I highly support that. I think you are intending to be the best person to operate a business such as short-term rentals. I think the homeowners around you have clearly spoken with their discomfort with that. And we can only vote on the merits of your application at this time. But I would encourage you to appeal if that's the case.
Any other comments and concerns?
Madam Chair, just what I see, this neighborhood here is like some people have stated that this is supposed to be a single-family neighborhood. We're trying to get single-family neighborhoods, people to move to this area. I've heard a lot of people say that that's why they moved to this neighborhood. My position would be I'd have to decline this because that's what people in the neighborhood would like to have. So that's where I stand at.
Further clarification, it could be a single-family long-term rental. That is allowed, that is another option. It says it's still a rental. So.
Okay, are we ready for a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
in the matter of case number 22-400-14, short-term rental at 20013 East 24th Terrace Court South, I move for approval with the stipulations as so stated, also with the addition of the noise monitoring system.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And we're ready for the vote.
Commissioner Ferguson,
No.
Commissioner Michelle,
No.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
No.
Commissioner Preston,
No.
let's see, Commissioner L. Wiley,
No.
H. Riley, okay, and Chairman McLean.
No. Case number 22-400-14, short-term rental at 213 East 24th Terrace Court South has been denied. And the
Madam Chair.
recourse is the next city council.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
That's, the next case is going to be wholly duplicative
Right.
of the last hour that we've enjoyed here together.
Can we call it a vote?
But I do not want to, and I don't know that we can shirk due process. Is there a way to streamline this? Because it's going to be the same exact conversation with only the report being different at the front end.
Yeah, I don't know.
We have to do the protocol.
We have to do protocol, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Can't blame you for trying.
It's a good try. Okay. And really, this speaks to why we do it the way we do it, is to be fair and balanced and consider each case completely separate and on its own merits. So I think it is important. Okay, next case is case 22-400-15, short-term rental at 2316 South Hanover Avenue. Request by Misty Kearney for a short-time rental. Staff, will you give a report?
And since this report is nearly identical, I'll just go over the highlights that are different.
Thank you.
Make this quite short. Okay, so same vicinity map. This is just, you can see on Hanover, this is about 2 blocks to the northeast, roughly, of where the other case was. There on Hanover Avenue, which is at 23rd 16 South Hanover. This house is a little bit different, 2,007 square feet, and is a 2-story home, but the same number of bedrooms. Of course, same general neighborhood. The one big difference being it's not on the edge of the addition, so it doesn't have the big field behind it. It's more in the middle, well, where it's got neighbors surrounding the backside. And the parking situation is fairly similar. I guess I saw it as 6 cars. I think Butch sees it as 4 cars. Could fit in there with it. Of course, 2 in the garage. Again, and the unruly guest and security situation for the property is the same. It's also a VRBO, and on the Airbnb websites. And the guests will get the rules, of course, and the manager's number, and the warnings will be the same as what was described in the previous case. As with the trash approval, and of course, it got the same inspections from the fire inspector as the other case did. So this one, I actually had the correct drawings in the PowerPoint. So here's the plot plan for this particular lot. So the other one would have had the plot plan as well. Here is your nearest existing rental map showing that there aren't any others, that these 2 will be the first really in this area. If they, well, the other one was, but would have been, so. So here's this house. Unlike the other one that was a ranch, this is a 2-story. Like I said, there's neighbors behind. This is looking north up Hanover. And then this is looking more to the northeast, east, across the street from it. And you can see the houses that are catty-cornered down to the southeast. And this is looking more directly southeast on the property. And staff recommendation was approval for this one as well. And with this we have the same requested conditions as the previous case. The short-term rental shall obtain a business license in accordance with city code and comply with Article 3, Chapter 5 of the city code. The occupation license number shall be listed on all advertisements and on online platforms. 2, the business must comply with all safety and other standards established by the short-term rental section of the UDO. And number 3, the maximum occupancy of the premises shall be limited to 8 adults, 10 persons total.
Thank you. Would you like to come back, would the applicant like to come back up and speak to this case?
I just feel that we did exactly what the city asked, and we actually follow more of the city guidelines and codes that you've asked than the previous one that was accepted. And I just don't feel like if these truly are active, then they have every right to contact a lawyer and take it from us and say, hey, you cannot do this. But this is not the information that we were giving, and it's very upsetting that somebody would sit in this court, I don't know what room I'm in, but, and laugh at me. I have done what I have been asked to do. I understand that this is their home, but it is also our property, and we do have the right to rent this property, and it will be a rental. And that's just the facts. And my goal was to try to make it the best it could be for this community, and I don't think that they should have the right to come in here, even though I did everything I was supposed to do, and take that from me. They should have to go to court and do what they are supposed to do, because the HOA is not valid. And the reason, if it was so important for them to keep these things going, they would have kept paying their dues. They would have kept doing their HOA. They would have protected their community. They didn't. And now all of a sudden, even though I've done everything I was asked to do, especially on this one, I mean, this one is full. Like, it's ready to go, because I did what I was asked to do by the city, and now I'm supposed to go in there and take thousands of dollars of furniture and just get rid of it because they don't want it rented? Like, it's just, I don't see how that's okay, because I'm also a citizen of Independence, Missouri, and I also pay taxes in this town, and I've also lived here my whole life, and I also feel like I should have the right. I'm not putting a mass murderer next to them. Just as if I rent this long term, I'm only going to vet the person who signs that contract. I have no control over who comes in and out of that property. But you know what? When it's short-term rental, I meet every person there. I talk to them. They have my phone number. All of them can have my phone number. There's nothing hidden there. And I know wholeheartedly, because I've been in this business, that it is safer to have short-term rentals next to you than it is sometimes long-term. But you have no control over your neighbors. But I'm trying my best to make sure that their community stays safe. And I just think that my rights should also be heard. And if they don't want to, then fine, the other one's gone. But I feel like I should still get this one.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Ma'am, come back up. Now, when you say you can't vet long-term rentals, you can vet every person that's on a long-term rental, because you put every name on the rentals on a long-term rental.
You cannot control once they get in there.
I know you can't
who's
control,
in
you
there.
can't, well, you can't control a short-term rental once they
You're
get
right.
it.
But
I'm
that's
just
what I'm saying.
you can vet long-term rentals people, because you put every name on there. When you rent to short-term, you only put one name on there, correct?
Well, they put the family on there, like the husband and wife that would rent it, is how we do it.
Okay, well,
But-
I'm just trying, because I don't do short-term rentals. I've never seen one, I've never done one.
Yeah.
I'm just going by what I hear say from people, is that you get to get vet just the person that signs up for
Like,
it.
the thing that, most of the rentals that I've stayed in, what they do is, instead, it's not just the VRBO thing that you sign, you send over your own, like, kind of like legal document, and they have to put every person, like everybody's name. So like when we stay down at Table Rock, we write everyone's name that's staying in the property.
Okay, so, see, that's why I'm learning some of the stuff. That's why I need to know, because people are saying, you only get one person. I don't know, do they see everybody that's going to be in there? That's what I'm asking, so see, that's something I did not know. That's why I'm trying to.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, I'm just trying to understand, because I mean, I know on long-term rentals, and you can do that. Plus, you say on long-term rentals, you can, because I've seen some of the contracts of long-term rentals, they could be 30-some pages long that they sign. And I'm saying you can do a lot of things with long-term rentals. I don't know if you can do that with short-term rentals.
I agree with you, and our business is investment real estate. That's what
Right.
we do. My husband has been doing long-term rentals for 25 years, And once they get in, they have so many more rights than you think.
I know, I
And
understand
so,
that, I understand
so
that.
we do know who's going in, but once that, we don't have a clue who's in those homes, and we can't come in it. We don't have rights to come in them. So like a short-term rental, sorry, I feel like I'm way up in that. Short-term rental, I have right to access that property anytime I want. I do not have to give notice. I do not have to, like, I show up at that door and I can enter the property. Long-term rentals, I have to give, I think it's 24 to 48 hours. I have to, if they decide to stop paying or they decide to start causing issues like they were saying in some of those rentals earlier, I have to get court orders. Like right now, we have one that's been going 5 to 6 months and we can't even get in front of a judge to fix it.
I understand that,
So,
I understand that.
that's-
I mean, that's just part of doing business too,
For
because
sure.
that's your thing. But you also gotta understand, we're listening to the people that are around there. I mean, they're giving their opinions why they don't want short-term rentals. I mean, I wish they'd learn, I mean, short-term rentals sound good to me because you do keep it cleaner, like I said. The thing, because you want to advertise it because you want to make it there. But I got to deal with the feelings of the neighborhood, what they want at this time. They might change their mind once they see long-term rentals. I don't know, because I've seen long-term rentals. I go around and work on long-term rentals, and trust me, they are not nice. So I understand where you're coming from.
I
see
just
your-
wish that they would try to understand that.
Well, you gotta remember, a lot of these people haven't seen long-term rentals, or some of them have, some of them haven't. But that's the difference. But we gotta listen to our people.
But I'm also the
I know,
people.
I'm listening to you. That's why I'm talking to you.
I know.
Okay? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me just, as best I can, soften the blow. Because it tore me to pieces, to tear your dream to pieces. And I could cry with you. But I'll never forget the tongue lashing that I took from then Commissioner McClain about the obligation of this commission. And every case is reviewed on its own merit. And the decision of this commission had nothing to do with that CID or that HOA. It was about preserving the integrity of that little bitty piece of community and their quiet enjoyment and as to why they purchased their home. I cry with you.
I just don't understand how it's still not. And I'm sorry, I've had a day.
I know.
I don't understand how.
You do have an appeals right. Our decision, when we decline an application, you still have the right to appeal to the city council.
I'm not even upset
And maybe,
about the other one.
and
I
maybe,
just-
maybe they have greater wisdom than we. But my heart is with you.
Like, I'm okay not having both of them. I get that. They don't want that in the neighborhood, but I don't know. I'm sorry.
I don't apologize. You've invested your heart and soul, clearly, and this is your business, as you stated. And that those do get intertwined in the fabric of your life, and they do become you. Any other questions of the applicant before we let you sit down for a minute? I will attest, though, with the VRBO, like, I have a very big family, and on some of those homes, you have to list every name and the age.
Yeah.
So, that is true.
You might want to note to her, if she does appeal, she has 5 business days to do so.
Thank you.
Can I ask real quick what the city's obligation is after this hearing to make sure that they know that, the appeal process?
From what I remember, there was one about 2 months ago or so. I think that they were called the next day. I don't know if it was my case or yours, but it was called the next day and emailed them a letter saying, the planning commission denied your application. However, you have 5 business days from the date of this meeting to appeal to the city council. And basically, I think they turn in a letter saying that they, the situation and all that, and then we assemble a sort of a staff report or a cover sheet that goes to the city council. They do not take any new testimony. They base their decision on the records.
Okay. Thank you.
So they take no new testimony? Okay.
It's based on what they read from what they heard here, correct? Which is why it's important to say things out loud. Any other questions before we let her sit down? Go ahead and have a seat, please. Is there anyone who would like to speak for this case? Is there anyone who would like to speak against this case? Sir, come on up. And if you'll state your name and address again, it's a new case.
Yeah, it's Willie Mel Hoots, 2318 South Heartland Court, Independence, Missouri. I'm about a block away from that particular property. And I know that their heart is in the right place. And I do know this. I owned 2 rental houses myself, and they were long-term rentals. One of them was, a tenant was in there for 4 years. The other one was for 2 years. It was even sold to them with an option to buy. Neither one of them opted to buy. We put them on the market and we sold the houses. But the property was taken care of. I'm a little in the dark. Because you have a long-term rental, you're going to let everything go to pot? That's your house. You live there. You're not proud of your house? I understand there are people that don't take care of their property, but there are those that do. So I don't see an issue myself with a long-term rental. I do see an issue with a short-term rental, so I'm still against it for all the previous reasons that I stated before.
Thank you.
2 questions. What's the length of the driveway?
I'm not sure.
Well, that was the other one. That was the other one. I'm not sure about this one, but I walk my dog past that house every day. And I don't know that you can get 4 cars.
You can't, that's right, it's 26 feet.
Yeah, you can't get 4 cars in that driveway.
Okay, so I was wrong saying 6.
Yeah.
So 2 in the garage, 2 in the driveway, so you got the 4.
Yeah, there's no possible way you get 4 cars in that driveway.
So 2 in the car, 2 in the garage,
Well,
2.
some people use storage for their garage. One way or the other, I don't see they're getting 4 cars in there, but anyway, that's my comment.
Thank you. And again, if you don't mind stating your name and your address again, new case.
Shelley Lee, 2400 South Glenview Avenue, Independence. I just want this not to be personal, because it's very clear that you've put a lot of time and energy into
You kind of
this.
you have to,
It's clear she's put a lot of time and energy into this, and this is not about it being personal. And on the other hand, I don't like it being insinuated that we should have gotten our act together and organized, because she doesn't know the history of this neighborhood and everything that we've been put through, all the promises we were made that never came true. But you are a resident there now, you own property there, and you are part of the CID, because she's now a member of the CID and pays the dues just like the rest of us. So I understand, I don't know what the builder told her, but they didn't do their due diligence either in not sharing with them the history of the neighborhood when they sold the houses. So that's on that builder that didn't share that information. Clearly, some of the builders did. We have no control over that once they buy the lot and once they put the house up, what they tell the residents, but she didn't have all the information either. So again, it's not personal, but we're all in this together now.
thank you. Is
Madam
there-
Chair,
Yes.
let me just make it abundantly clear here. The position of this commission has absolutely nothing to do with the CID or the HOA. Nothing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anybody else who would like to speak against this case? Come on up. Let's let her, I've let y'all duke it out, but I'm gonna let her go first. State your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Tamara Atkinson. I live at 2320 South Hanover Avenue. I'm directly south of this house. I'm with,
Hold the microphone.
oh, I'm sorry.
And can you state your name and address once again, so
Okay.
make sure that it got heard?
It's Tamara Atkinson. I'm at 2320 South Hanover Avenue, directly south where that white picket fence is. That's my house. I've been a resident of Independence for 42 years. I started building my house in Prairie Landing in 2009. I built it to retire there. I met Misty, and she's a very well-spoken lady. She's very nice. I told her my concerns, and we talked about it back and forth. She made some good points on short-term rental versus long-term. But my thing is, I want to know who my neighbor is. I don't want them changing every 30 days. I'm a senior citizen. I live alone. I'm not used to speaking in front of people.
You're fine.
But like I said, Misty's a very nice woman. I would, if it was her family moving in, up until a few minutes ago, I would have said, welcome in. But with her husband storming out, threatening us with Section 8 housing now, I didn't appreciate that at all. So I think there's going to be a little discourse in the neighborhood. But we were told there would not be any rentals when we built. That's why I built my home there, to retire. We were supposed to have the lakes and this, that, all the stuff we didn't get. You guys have seen us here before for other issues. It seems like those of us in Prairie Lane keep having to come before the commission to protect our neighborhood. That's all we're trying to do now. Nothing against Misty and her family. We want homeowners. They have a vested interest if you reside in the neighborhood, in the city. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak against this case? I'm going to let her go first, if that's okay. Are you sworn in?
I'm not.
Okay. Will you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the whole truth before this commission? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Sonia Barnhard, 2317 South Heartland Court. It's going to be 14 years since I've lived in my house. I think most of us know disappointment. I know a lot of disappointment, and I'm not used to speaking in front either. Oh no, there goes my
You're
voice.
just fine. It's just us. It's okay.
Anyway, there's been a lot of disappointment since I moved into my house. If you look right in front of the chamber, there's a memorial tree, and that is my husband's memorial tree. And this was supposed to be our dream home and where we were going to raise our kids. And my son was 2, and my daughter was 5. It was going to be an awesome place to live. The fishing lakes, the walking trails that hooked up to Little Blue Trace Park, and it was going to be an awesome place to live. We were told a lot of different things that we were supposed to have, and of course we've gotten nothing. So I know a lot about disappointment, and so do my neighbors. We just want a safe place to live, and I want to be able to, I mean, my kids are 19, almost 20, and Noah's 16. Just recently, his car got broken into. First time I've ever felt unsafe in my neighborhood. I've always felt safe. I walk my dog in the middle of the night because I'm kind of a night owl. Probably shouldn't do that. Definitely won't be, I have to think twice before I go out now. We want a safe place. We know about disappointment, but I do worry about short-term rentals, and I'm just against it. So, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead. And again, if you'll restate your name and address, please.
My name is Linda Finger. I live at 2323 South Hanover Avenue. You can actually see my house in some of these pictures because I am directly diagonal from this house. Sorry, am I not talking? And can you hear me?
You just need.
Okay. Sorry, I move around when I talk. I'm a teacher, so I like to move. But one thing I want to say, I heard her talk about their dream, this is their investment.
You okay? Take your time.
This is really emotional for us too, because this is our dream. It's our investment. Also, this is our retirement home. We were thinking long-term for the future. And I'm thinking, if eventually, like, what is this going to do to the property values if we get a bunch of rental houses in this community that's supposed to be like one of the places that people wanted to live in Independence? I remember driving past this community when it first was built, thinking, gosh, man, those people must have it really good. I never thought I'd be able to live in this community, and it was possible one day. And I just don't know that bringing in all this is going to really add anything to our community. So I'm sorry, I know that's probably not what some people want to hear, but not everybody's dream is the same, and I think we have to keep that into account. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak against this case? Seeing none, do you want to come back up and speak anymore? Are you sure? All right, thank you. The public portion of this hearing is closed. Commissioners? What do I know?
Madam Chair, I make a motion.
Yes.
Case 22-400-15 for approval. Oh, with the conditions also adding the noise alert.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Call the roll. Vote, please.
Commissioner Ferguson,
No.
Commissioner Michelle,
No.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
No.
Commissioner Preston,
No.
Commissioner Wiley,
No.
and Chairman McLean.
No. Case number 22-400-15, short-term rental at 2316 South Hanover Avenue has been denied. And again, you know you have recourse. I think that, if I can make a comment, I mean, I think this is emotional for all of us. I think that short-term has always been a challenge to this commission. I will say I live on a street with 4 short terms, but I also live in a historic district where visitors want to come because they're close to things. I've never had one problem. In fact, new visitors walking along the street and super excited about being in Independence has been kind of a fun thing to watch. I had the same feelings that I know that you all have. However, for me, this is a very residential space. And so I understand why you want to protect that. I really, really do. And I feel for you as a businesswoman because I know what you put into this, and I get that. And I know that your heart is in improving Independence. And so I also respect that and thank you for that. For me, it just felt like the wrong space for it. And that's just me. But thank you, everybody, for your voices. It is really important to come and speak, and we appreciate that. I know it's been a long night. Okay. Roundtable. Next meeting is December 13th, where we will hear the continued case, I'm guessing. Anything else for the greater good? You just want to go home.
I would just like to say I appreciate the voices of all the applicants and and the public that came, and I appreciate the work that we're doing.
Yep. All right. Thank you, everybody. Did you want to say something? I don't want to cut you off. He does.
Wait a minute, I got 4 months to make up for it. Let's start tonight.
Okay, can I cut you off at 9:39? This meeting is adjourned at 9:39 p.m.